We will now begin the City of Boynton Beach City Commissioners meeting today, Tuesday, May 7th, 2019 at 6:30 p.m. Would everyone please rise for an invocation by Pastor Bob Bender of Christ Fellowship Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Mac McRae. Yes.
God, I thank you that we get to be able to serve and love this amazing city of Boynton Beach, and we pray that you would give great wisdom and discernment to all that get to be able to lead. We pray for protection of our city. We pray for guidance in all things, and we thank you for your favor, and we ask that you would help us to honor you. We pray this in your name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May I have a roll call, please?
Mayor Stephen B. Grant.
Here.
Vice Mayor Justin Katz. Commissioner Mac McRae.
Here.
Commissioner Christina Romulus.
Christina's
Present.
present.
Christina Romulus.
Present.
Commissioner Ty Pittsburgh.
Here.
There's a quorum.
Thank you. Any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda? I've been asked for an additional proclamation that I'd like to add as item 3E.
As item 3E or 3M?
3M, but we're going to move all the other ones back.
Okay.
So it will be 5th.
Right. Motion to approve as amended.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Agenda is approved unanimously. Vice Mayor, would you like to begin?
No disclosures at this time.
Okay.
I'm next.
Yes.
Thank you. No disclosures at this time.
All right. Commissioner Romulus.
No disclosure, just have a few comments for the good of the order. I know that we are missing our city clerk, Judith Pilch, who suffered an injury, so I hope that she is feeling better and doing well. I also had a chance to attend a few events and travels to certain places around the state. First, I attended a social media training hosted by the Florida League of Cities up in Daytona recently. So I'm proud to say that our social media policy stands up pretty well in comparison to some other cities who don't even have one. But being that it was dated since 2010, we definitely do need a revision on that since a lot of things have changed in the social media world. So I'm asking for that to be something that's added to our future agenda list. That way we can keep that as a priority to work and update that and bring that before the commission to approve. That way we're all on the same page about how we move forward in this very digital world that we all live in. I also attended a medical marijuana summit that was hosted all the way down in Homestead. This was an opportunity to learn more about the industry, where they're going, how that affects us here in the city. Thank you very much. How that affects us here in the city and the future of all that and the outlook of it. So very, very informational. I would highly suggest that my colleagues and other members of staff, if given the opportunity to attend one of those, as they hope to become more of a partner with local governments, especially with the growth trajectory that they are on with the legislature and everything else. What else did I do? I attended another training that was done by the league, so I'll leave that one out. But I've been doing a lot of learning and taking the opportunity to really make sure that we as a city have the best sources of information and knowledge that we can possibly have in order to operate better and continue to be a bright beacon for our residents in the other cities around us. So with that is all I have for now. So thank you, Mayor, and thank you all.
Commissioner Pinsurga?
No disclosures at this time.
All right. For myself, on April 17th, I attended the COBRA meeting and welcomed the new president. On the 18th, I attended the ribbon cutting for Aldi. Attended the Transportation Planning Agency's meeting, went to the Senior Center. We had a topping off party with Pacifica that was well covered in the news. In addition, I did another ribbon cutting for Peter Feeman, and then attended the Bill Tomei's basketball tournament. I'd like to wish everybody a happy Passover and Easter. On the 23rd of April, I had a meeting with AT&T. On the 24th, I attended the League of Cities meeting. On the 26th, I attended a concert for Dimensional Harmony. They were one of the few a cappella choir groups that were invited to London at the end of this year. And so we had the Lord Mayor of Westminster coming to Boynton Beach to extend an official invitation. On the 27th, I attended the Palm Beach County School District's Town Hall meeting for Hispanics. It was the Culture Community Connection. On the 28th, I watched Avengers, and I thought that was a great movie. Yeah, so if you want to talk about it, it's okay with me. The 29th, I had a meeting with Colin at the Lake Worth Drainage District with the new Executive Director, Tommy Stroud. We do have a good amount of canals here with the Lake Worth Drainage District, and so just making sure that we have open lines of communications. I met with Kaufman Lynn, the people that did the building out of the Pacifica, and had a meeting with our sister cities. On the 30th, I attended a Cross Point Elementary's volunteer luncheon, the new duplex dedication for Habitat for Humanity that was able to do so on some cities' property, and then attended the Boynton Beach Short Film Festival that was hosted at Alco through South Tech Academy. It was an amazing film festival. I was told that they sold more pre-sales this year than they sold all of last year. So it is something that we're happy that they have named it Boynton Beach. May 1st, I attended a mental health meeting over at the Children's Service Council. On the 2nd, I was at a mayor-manager meeting for Commissioner Weinroth. And those are my announcements and information. And I did speak with the engineer for the Harbor K while at the wastewater treatment facility. Is there any other further disclosures before we begin?
Sorry, I was trying to help the Commissioner. One more thing I forgot to mention I attended this past weekend was Haitian American Culture Day, which was hosted in Delray Beach. It was a fantastic event, great turnout. And again, this was something that they did as a first-time event. I thought it was just well-attended, had so many different vendors, and really just a joy to see the culture celebrated. My hope and vision is that we as a city decide to partner and continue to partner with them and perhaps let it be a rotating event that comes to Boynton Beach in the next year or so that we can also continue to celebrate our Haitian American community here in Boynton Beach.
All right, thank you. And I'd like to remind the audience that to please silence or turn off their cell phones. Our first announcement is to proclaim May as Building Safety Month in order to help promote citizen awareness of building safety, energy efficiency, water conservation, and sustainability. Proclamation. Whereas through our continuing attention to build safe structures for everyday life in times of disaster, we enjoy the comfort and peace of mind that our facilities are safe and sound. And whereas building safety and fire prevention officials work diligently to guide the safe construction of building, and whereas building safety and fire prevention officials, architects, engineers, builders, and others in the construction industry develop and enforce codes to safeguard Americans in the buildings where we live, work, play, and learn. And whereas the Florida Building Codes adopted and used by the state of Florida include safeguards to protect the public from natural disasters that can occur, such as hurricanes, tornadoes, wildfires, and flooding. And whereas Building Safety Month represents an excellent opportunity to increase public awareness of the role building safety and fire prevention officials, local and state building departments, and federal agencies play in protecting lives and property. And whereas countless lives have been saved because of the building safety codes adopted and enforced by local and state agencies. And whereas this year, as we observe Building Safety Month, we ask all Boynton residents to recognize their local building safety and fire prevention officials and the important role they play in public safety every day and in times of disaster. Now, therefore, I, Stephen B. Grant, Mayor of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2019 as Building Safety Month and encourage our citizens to join with their communities in participation in Building Safety Month activities. And do we have someone accepting the proclamation? All right.
Real briefly, Mike Rumpf, your Development Director, on behalf of Shane Kittendorf, who endorsed this item, who's very proud to operate and endorse the safe procedures, safe certifications that are held by himself and his staff. On behalf of the city's building staff, fire staff, and life safety staff, thank you very much.
Get a hand clap.
Our next proclamation is to proclaim the month of May as Haitian Heritage and May 18th as Haitian Flag Day. City of Boynton Beach Proclamation. Whereas the growth and prosperity of the City of Boynton Beach is due in part to an ethnic diversity that includes a substantial and rapidly increasing Haitian population. And whereas we recognize the valuable contribution of the Haitian people in the fight for the independence of the United States of America, especially in the Battle of Savannah, and pay due tribute to their endowment. And whereas the Haitian population in South Florida joins together during the month of May to commemorate their Flag Day and celebrate their historical and cultural indemnity. And whereas Haitian President Dumaresset Estime started the Flag Day celebration with parades, cultural and athletic events in many cities in Haiti in the 1930s, when he was Minister of Education under President Stenio Vincent. Estime wanted to commemorate the creation of the Haitian flag to encourage the development of patriotic sentiments among Haitian youth. And whereas it is inappropriate to promote awareness and understanding of cultural diversity in our society in order to strengthen self-esteem of our multicultural community. Now, therefore, I, Stephen B. Grant, Mayor of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, do hereby proclaim the 18th day of May 2019 as Haitian Flag Day and the month of May 2019 as Haitian Heritage Month. And do we have someone accepting the proclamation? Commissioner Romulus?
Would you like me to accept
Yes,
it?
I would.
Sure. Absolutely. By all means.
Why don't you come over here? Would you like to say a few words?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor. This is a very humbling moment. If you think of most Haitian Americans who live here in Boynton Beach, here in South Florida, we all have a similar story. My father, who immigrated here in 1980, actually literally came here on a boat. Had started from the bottom, had nothing to his name when he came to this country, but knew that leaving my mother back in Haiti, who was pregnant at the time with my second sister and had my oldest sister at 1 year old, he had to provide a better life. So he traversed the seas and came here, who we've seen in recent weeks people are still doing and sometimes still losing their lives in the process of doing. But the American dream was a promise that he was willing to risk his life for. So the fact that the Haitian American community is here and is thriving, we're seeing elected officials, we're seeing doctors, nurses, lawyers, all types of careers really progressing here in the United States and here in South Florida. That's something to celebrate. And, though many people aren't very much aware of it, it's important to bring awareness to the fact that Haiti got its independence from slavery, the first black nation to do that in 1804, but we didn't stop there. We actually went and afterwards freed several South American countries and also helped America as they were going through their revolution. So we've really been at the backbone of a lot of countries taking their freedom from slavery and seceding from that just affront to the rights of human beings in this world. And that's what we stand for. Regardless of what the state of our country and the state of the politics in our country may be now, we have always been a country of people who are very prideful in making sure that freedom is at the forefront of everything that we do. So on our flag, the motto is L'Union fait la force, which is unity is strength, and we continue to embrace that in everything that we do. So I'm proud to accept this proclamation. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Commissioners, for approving it.
Our next proclamation is to proclaim May 2019 as Mental Health and Trauma-Informed Care Month. Woodrow Hay, Chair of Boynton Beach Mental Health Committee, will be present to accept the proclamation. City of Boynton Beach Proclamation. Whereas mental health is essential to everyone's overall health and well-being, and everyone experiences times of stress and struggles in their lives, and 1 in 4 adults and 1 in 5 youth ages 13 to 18 experiences serious mental illness. And whereas 60% of adults and 50% of youth do not receive the treatment necessary for their mental health needs due to limited or no knowledge of the need, barriers to care, or fear and shame. And whereas research recognizes that adverse childhood experiences, which include but are not limited to physical, emotional, and sexual abuse, physical and emotional neglect, household dysfunction, untreated mental illness, or incarceration of a household member, domestic violence, microaggressions, and separation or divorce involving household members are traumatic experiences that can have a profound effect on a child's developing brain and body and can result in poor physical and mental health during childhood and adulthood. And whereas promoting mental health and wellness leads to a higher overall productivity, better educational outcomes, lower crime rates, stronger economies, lower healthcare costs, improved family life, improved quality of life, and increased lifespan. And whereas the City of Boynton Beach recognizes the work of the Boynton Beach Mental Health Committee impacting awareness and education, access to services, and acceptance of the importance of mental health and well-being to a person's overall success and support the implementation of trauma-informed approaches throughout the systems of care. Now, therefore, I, Stephen B. Grant, Mayor of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, do hereby proclaim the month of May of 2019 as Mental Health Awareness and Trauma-Informed Care Month.
I actually want to hug too. Hey, Amanda. Hey, Amanda. I want to hug too. That's actually my favorite Supergirl right there. Yeah.
We thank you for this proclamation. Last year we informed you about the importance of addressing mental health in our great city. I know you get it, but many of you are still wondering, what is it that we're all about? Here are some of our accomplishments from July 1st, 2018 up until the present time. We participated for the second time in Bethesda Community Needs Assessment, where mental health was one of the focal areas that will continue to be emphasized over the next 3 years. We increased mental health first aid training at St. John Missionary Baptist Church for 60. 3 members of the Boynton Beach Mental Health Committee became nationally certified mental health first aid trainers to serve our healthier Boynton Beach community. We conducted training at the First Presbyterian Church and at St. John. Bethesda Health had its first mental health first aid training for staff in January, and the second training on April 30th. Initiated a partnership with South Tech Middle School with support for their mental health evening event with parents. We awarded certificates to art class students who competed in a mental health PSA contest and put the first place winner PSA on the website. We participated in the health fairs and events. August 7th, Community Caring Center Hospitality and Coloring Job Fair, 300 was in attendance. August 30th, P2P Back to School Fair. September 20th, Boynton Beach Senior Health Care. March 27th, Beth Cordish Synagogue. We purchased a buddy bench for Cross Point Elementary School. Received $2,500 mini grant awarded by the Healthier Boynton Beach to create a caregiver resource and learning center in Boynton Beach City Library with a donation of 50 books on caregiving, and introduce a group of caregivers to electronic tablets to empower them to search for healthy information about caregiving and self-care. Distributed over 1,000 Boynton Beach Mental Health Finding Hope brochures to consultants in Boynton Beach schools. We represented on the county-wide level Get Your Green On Planning Committee that was nominated for the Community Collaboration Award. Applied for 2 mini grants in 2019 mini grant offering to provide services for caregivers. Trauma-informed yoga for caregiving youth in 4 schools, and a 6-session workshop of trauma-informed yoga mindfulness for 20 caregivers. Reprinted over 5,000 door handlers with mental health and emergency information to be placed on doors of homes in the 33435 area. We participated in the Boynton Beach December Holiday Parade in a decorated truck with a sign that read, "It's okay to talk about mental health," to enhance visibility. We participated as a vendor at the 5th Annual PBC School District Mental Health Consortium at Atlantic High School in June 2018 with Boynton Beach Mental Health Committee table and handouts. 300 teachers, counselors, school nurses were in attendance. We added 2 new members to our committee, Verna Henry, school counselor at South Tech Middle School, adjunct instructor at Palm Beach State College. She's a teacher at Palm Beach County District. And also we added Casey Brannigan, mental health therapist in private practice, Modern Reality. Amanda Kopaz, member of the steering committee, took 200 hours of training in trauma-informed yoga and promoted and conducted 3 free yoga in the park session at Intercoastal Park. Healthier Boynton Beach to co-sponsor the event. You didn't have to pay for that. Actively engaged in the Palm Beach County Action Allowance for Mental Health. Working with the Bridge Director, Felicia Hester, to conduct yoga and mental health education in Creole and with a Creole-speaking mental health professional. Proudly included in the city's recognition celebration dinner in November as one of the city's valued organizations. Boynton Beach Mental Health Committee also has a link on the city's webpage. And lastly, represented on the Health and Wellness Committee of COBRA, Communities of Boynton West Residential Association, helped plan an evening event on street and anxiety on May 2nd that drew over 150 people and many prudent. Doctors from Bethesda Health and JFK led excellent discussions and took questions from the audience. We thank you again for the opportunity to function. We thank you, Mayor Steve Grant, for your financial support. We do now ask others of this commission to give more than mental consent. We ask for your financial support in any amount. And we do have green, which is the color for the month of May, for each of you as commissioners and mayor. Thank you. She will hand those out now. Go ahead.
Thank you.
How are you again?
Yes.
If I might add just real quick, I know as we move into budgeting for this year, one of the discussions that I had with the members of this organization was how can we set up a training for our staff members here in Boynton Beach to be more aware and more sensitive to some of these mental health issues. So that's something I'd like to add to our discussion items as we move into budgeting on perhaps allocating. It doesn't have to be very much, but just enough to maybe get enough for the materials that would be needed to host some type of training for our staff members. And it may be done in phases, it may be done all at once, or maybe just across departments, but that's something I'd like to add to our discussion list of things to do as we move towards this fiscal year.
Yeah, we absolutely can, and we have partnered with them in the past and have done that with our employees and provided some great training, so we'll certainly continue to do so.
Thank you, Lori.
Thanks.
Our next proclamation is to proclaim the month of May 2019 as National Historic Preservation Month. City of Boynton Beach Proclamation. Whereas historic preservation is an effective tool for promoting sustainable development, revitalizing neighborhoods, fostering local pride, promoting tourism, and maintaining community character. And whereas it is important to acknowledge and celebrate the benefit of history, architecture, and archaeology to our lives and the contribution made by dedicated individuals in helping to preserve the tangible aspects of the heritage that has shaped the city. And whereas historic preservation can be the center of community discussion, uniting residents behind an important cause. And whereas the City of Boynton Beach is a certified local government in accordance with the program requirements of the State of Florida's Division of Historic Resources, Bureau of Historic Preservation. And whereas the City of Boynton Beach also continues to demonstrate its commitment to preservation in part with the integration of historic elements into the redevelopment efforts, such as the 1913 Boynton School and the adaptive reuse of the city's 1927 high school as part of the Town Square project. Now therefore, I, Stephen B. Grant, Mayor of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2019 as National Historic Preservation Month, and call upon the people of Boynton Beach to join their fellow citizens across the United States in recognizing and participating in the special observance. Do we have someone to accept the proclamation? Yes. Archer.
Good evening. On behalf of the city's Historic Resources Preservation Board, I'd like to thank the Commission, the City Manager, and the staff for all of your support, your continued support of historic preservation in our city. As we approach our centennial year next year in 2020, which we will be celebrating the 100th year since Boynton Beach was incorporated, historic preservation becomes all the more important because we appreciate where we've been and we can see where we're going. In the audience tonight with me also are members of the Historical Society, the Boynton Beach Historical Society, Reverend Randy Gill and Ann Rimler, and Susan Oyer, I think, is somewhere on the bus. We are in the middle of our 50th year, celebrating our 50 years as a historical society. So thank you very much. I appreciate the attention drawn to historic preservation, too.
Mayor, excuse me. Right, I'd like to say to the Historical Preservation Society, I was invited over to my neighbor's home last week, Clyde Harris, and he has done a map, with the different homes and where they was placed, like over in the northeast section of Boynton, also with Cherry Hill, and I think that you all need to kind of contact him because you'll be amazed at what he has done. I'm just saying because he have drawn pictures of the homes, the old elementary school, and also Old St. John. I mean, he did a phenomenal job. When I went over there, I was absolutely floored because he said, this is even where y'all lived at McCray. I said, thank you. So put you in touch with him. Thank you.
Yes, and I'd also like to state that if you find any sort of historical item, so when I moved into my house, there was an old charter sign from Harold Lyman, whose father owned the marina back in the day, and I was able to donate that to the Historic Society. So if you find any sort of, I wouldn't call them relics, but historical pieces of the city's history, the Historical Society is the place to donate them. All right. Our next proclamation is to declare May 2019 as Boynton Beach Association of Firefighters Appreciation Month. City of Boynton Beach Proclamation. Whereas the Boynton Beach Association of Firefighters is the prime example of public service and sacrifice, displaying the nobility to protect the citizens of our community every day. And whereas the Boynton Beach Association of Firefighters members are highly dedicated and trained individuals who demonstrate American ideals, the ultimate standard of character and courage in the face of danger. And whereas the Boynton Beach Association of Firefighters members selflessly contribute their time and energy fighting for kids and adults with muscular dystrophy, ALS, and related life-threatening diseases that severely limit muscle strength and mobility by filling the boot each year for the Muscular Dystrophy Association. And whereas in 2018, the Boynton Beach Association of Firefighters raised $48,344 for the Muscular Dystrophy Association through the annual Fill the Boot campaign. And whereas the Boynton Beach Association of Firefighters endlessly service to the Muscular Dystrophy Association has given so much hope for families fighting life-threatening muscle diseases. Now, therefore, I, Stephen B. Grant, Mayor of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2019 as Boynton Beach Association of Firefighters Appreciation Month. Do we have someone to accept the proclamation? Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor and City Commissioners, for this opportunity to honor the Boynton Beach firefighters. They do so much throughout the year, but they really stand out for the Muscular Dystrophy Association. We have been partnered with the IAFF for 65 years now, so thank you guys so much for your dedication to one day find a cure. But until we get there, some treatments have definitely came out, and we are the leading organization towards the research and finding these treatments and hopefully one day find a cure. So guys, thank you so much for all you do throughout the community, but thank you for sure what you do for MDA. Thank you.
Yes, Commissioner McCray.
Thank you. I'd just like to say that on Sunday afternoon, I had my 3 godsons in the car, and I called one of the guys over and put $2 in the boot. I was at the Congress and Boynton Beach Boulevard, and the 3-year-old said, what did you give him those $2 for? So I had to explain all the way from Boynton all the way to my home. When I got home, I said, well, what's wrong with you now? Because I only gave $2. He said, I said, what's wrong? He said, I had 50 cents to give him. You should have gave him more. So the kids are paying attention. So I owe y'all 50 cents. Thank you.
Moving on to announce the Solid Waste Division will be having Tire Amnesty Week for the city residents from June 3rd, 2019 to June 7th, 2019.
Good evening. Davidson Monestin from the Solid Waste Division. We would like to remind everyone that Tire Amnesty Week starts June 3rd through the 7th. We will be servicing up to 8 car tires at the curbside. They can be with or without the rims, and they must be away from any cars, mailboxes, or low-hanging wires. And those tires must also be separated from any piles of veg, yard waste, and any other bulk items to prevent them from being serviced properly. Also, we would like to remind everyone that hurricane season starts June 1st. We are urging all the residents to do their major tree trimming early. The deadline is May 31st. Doing so will help us preventing from dedicating additional resources in areas where we're not supposed to at that time. And once there's a named storm, it's not guaranteed that those piles will be serviced on time. So we are urging everyone to do their part in cutting their trees early, and call the Solid Waste Division at 742-6200 if they need any assistance. Thank you.
Commissioner Romulus?
Mayor, just want to add to Mr. Monestin's comments. If you all remember this past hurricane that came, I believe it was Matthew?
Irma,
that affected us. In my neighborhood, we were out of power for nearly 6 days, and that was because individuals just weren't keeping up with the maintenance of their trees, and so many down power lines were because of those trees that affected and caused for FPL to have a long, drawn-out battle with trying to get electricity back up to our houses. So if we don't want to be that inconvenienced when another hurricane comes through, and not if, but when, it's very smart and behooves all of us to really make sure that we are taking care of our vegetation in our yards. So please take that advice and let's be proactive.
I have a comment in regards to Tire Amnesty. Yeah, we need to get the word out because in District 2, we have a lot of tires, okay, and we need to make sure we get it out to the homeowners, saying you could place them out now. I'm just saying, however you all want to do it, I'm just saying we need to get the word out. It's not only for here, we need to get the word out in the community. You all are picking up tires, okay, because I'm kind of tired of calling you all, saying, come get these tires. Y'all know what I do. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner, for reminding me. We have additional information posted on the city's website, and also we have them on all the media platforms, so we can communicate with the residents with additional information.
Glad I can remind you. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
And I believe the Florida legislature created a tax holiday for hurricane preparedness, and so when we get that information, we can make an announcement of that as well. Our next item would be announcement by Police Chief Gregory of awards the Police Department received from the Palm Beach County School District.
Good evening, Vanessa Snow, Assistant Police Chief. On behalf of the men and women from our police department, we're very honored to let you know about 2 awards that we received this past week. One was a gold from Cross Point Elementary for being one of their strategic partners, and the second award was from Commissioner McCray, your alma mater, from Point Siena Elementary for being also a business partner with them. So these 2 awards just highlight a couple of the core tenets of the 21st century policing that we've been speaking so much about, which has to do with community engagement. So these 2 awards demonstrate to you and to our people that we're doing great things. So we just wanted to highlight that for you. Thank you.
Vanessa, don't leave. I like to say, the prom thing that you all did, it went statewide, although Chief need dancing lessons, I can get him some discounts, just let him know.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Very well taken.
Our next is announce awards received by the Utility Department by Colin Groff, Assistant City Manager, Public Services.
All right, we've got a couple awards to announce, and I'll make it quick. The first one is one we already announced, but I want to show you we actually did get the plaque, and it's the Medium Collection System Award that our staff won for having the most efficient and effective operations of wastewater collection system. So I want to show you we did get the plaque. So because last time we announced it, we didn't have the plaque yet. Oh, let's see the plaque. The next two awards I actually pretty excited about because usually on awards you apply for them and you're in a group of 100, 150 other projects and they pick you. The next two awards were both nominated by our peers or nominated by other groups. We didn't apply for them, so it was people recognizing for the work we do. The first one was given by is called the Thomas R. Camp Award, and it's an award that the founder of CDM Smith, which is Camp Dresser and McKee, that's what they used to be called, and it's an award that the company shareholders select a project each year as the project that provides excellent service to the customers that it was built for. And it's really recognizing the efficiencies and the innovation of the team that was pulled together to design and build and construct and operate the project. So we were pretty glad to see that. It was really the CDM Smith team was the one that really won the award, and Suzanne's here, so you can stand up and wave hi, but they won it. But it also, it's nice to see that a large company like CDM Smith, which is very, very large international engineering company, recognizes Boynton Beach as being able to work with their teams to deliver high quality, advanced technology water treatment plant for its customers. So I want to show you that one. So that's a pretty cool award. So the last one is one that I'm proud about because this is one that we didn't actually apply for. There's a group called Design Build Institute of America, and it's got thousands and thousands of members and member agencies. And there's a select group of leadership. I'm on the National Council of Owners, meaning people who run agencies and do design build projects. And we were asked to nominate projects for this award, and I did not nominate Boynton Beach, so I didn't pick Boynton Beach, but out of all the peers, and we didn't apply for it, so what this says is all of the national recognized people that are in water and wastewater recognize Boynton Beach as for their their ability to use design build methodologies to deliver excellent projects. And really this award is not for our staff. This is really an award for the board because you allow us to use these procurement methodologies to really provide projects that are efficient, effective, and technologically advanced for our customers. So I was kind of proud of this award because we won it at national. There was thousands of projects looked at. And we won this out of thousands of projects across the United States. So we were actually number one in the entire country for this. So, and it really says it's for significant contributions in advancing the awareness, understanding, and use of design-build project delivery, saving money, saving time, and increasing quality. So it's for our plant. So I was pretty proud of getting that. So we wanted to announce these. There's probably more coming for more projects because we have great staff that do a great job every day to try to deliver the most cost-effective projects to the citizens of Boynton Beach.
Colin, that was our East Water Treatment Plant expansion, $30 million?
Yeah, all of these are our East Water Treatment Plant that's nationally recognized as one of the best in the world from a standard of quality.
Is that our first design build too?
That was the city's first design build project. I've done many, but that was the city's first one. And now most of our projects are being delivered that way because it's a very cost-effective way to deliver projects.
Colin, don't run away. Don't run away. Can we get staff to stand up there with you and also CDM so that, we can get a picture for the website? I'm just saying,
Does Eleanor have her camera?
No, she has a camera right there.
That's why I'm behind.
I'll stay behind.
I don't think you did all the work. Now, thank you.
Next announcement is by Glenn Joseph, Fire Chief, to announce that Boynton Beach Fire Rescue is launching a Firefighter Explorer program for the youth in our community. This free career program will help young adults prepare for careers in the fire service and other public safety professions.
Good evening, everybody. I'm proud and happy to announce the formation of the Boynton Beach Firefighters Fire Explorer Program, troop number 343. It was made possible with the support of the senior staff, the board, as well as a generous donation from the Highbridge Country Club. I'd like to bring on Lieutenant Greg Jackson. He's the leader of the Men in Red and Ladies in Red. He'll be running the program for us.
Good evening, Commissioners, Mayor, citizens. Before I get started, I'd like to introduce some of the crew that's here tonight. If you would please stand. Lieutenant Ed Kosar, Firefighter Jason LeBorn, Firefighter Manny Fajardo, Firefighter Antonio Messon, Firefighter Ryan Mers, and our Chief Advisor in the back, Chief Clemens. I was told to be brief about this program, which I will, but I'm very excited and happy to bring this to the kids. And what the program is actually designed to do is to give them a career in the fire service. So this free career education program for young men and women will provide an invaluable experience to help young adults mature, prepare them for possible careers in the fire service, and also build wealth in the community by investing in them. That's the whole point of this. That's the whole goal, and that's what we set out to do. Questions?
We have brochures that we've passed out to the board, and they'll be out on the patio if anybody wants to take it. We have a young child who's in high school, all the way up to age 20, who's interested in joining the program. All the contact information is on there, so let us know, and we'll be starting in the summer. So now's a good time to plan and come aboard. Thank you.
Chief, I know y'all say ages 14 to 20, but kids smaller than that, they get very interested in fire trucks. They get excited. I'm just saying if y'all could kind of do something to the elementary school, because when I have my godkids and they talk about, oh, look at the fire trucks. So y'all kind of need to do something kind of to get them a little wet so when they get there, they'll be ready. Thank you.
Okay. Next, we have an announcement from Kathy Klein, Fire Marshal, to announce the Boynton Beach Fire and Life Safety Division joining the American Red Cross to install smoke alarms in the Forest Park community on May 11, 2019.
Kathy Klein, Fire Marshal, Boynton Beach Fire Department. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners. Smoke inhalation from fires kills over 2,600 people in this country every year. That is why smoke alarms are an indispensable tool. I'm excited that the Boynton Beach Fire Department has joined forces with the American Red Cross to sound the alarm Save a Life program this Saturday at Forest Park. We pre-scoured the neighborhood. We passed out flyers on the mailboxes, and this Saturday, with volunteers, we'll be handing out and installing smoke detectors for Forest Park. We also, with the City of Boynton, the Fire Department, we have our own smoke detector program. If you live in the city and you are a resident in the city and live in your home, we have a limited amount of smoke detectors that we provide for free to other citizens in the city.
How should they contact you for that resource?
You call the fire department. They can come in, maybe show us their driver's license that they live in the residence, and then we would provide a smoke detector to them.
What is that number?
742-6600.
Okay.
I have flyers provided on the table for any information if you'd like to have one. We do advertise it on our Facebook page and other social media for anybody who's interested.
Thank you so much.
Excuse me, while y'all are up there and y'all tooting your own horns, I want to say thank you for your annual report. I got a full copy. I read it. Job well done. Thank you.
Next, we have announcement of a communication marketing award received by the City of Boynton Beach for the city's 2018 calendar.
Eleanor Crisell, Marketing Director. On Wednesday, April 17th, the City of Boynton Beach received the Gold Coast PR Council Bernie's Award in the Marketing Material Print category for its 2018 calendar. We were up against some tough finalists, like the Constitutional Tax Collector's Office, Labor Finders International, and Mounts Botanical Garden. The Gold Coast PR Council is South Florida's largest independent group of PR, marketing, and communication professionals from Palm Beach, Broward, Martin, and Dade counties. This was the first year that the City of Boynton Beach entered the Gold Coast PR Council Bernie's Award. and I did not bring the award. It was very heavy. Colin had enough to carry tonight, so it's in my office.
Okay. And you'd like to let us know about our next announcement?
Absolutely. So this Friday, May 10th, between the hours of 5 and 7 p.m., the city will be celebrating the expansion of our Joseph Crowder Dog Park with a Yappy Happy Hour. The Yappy Happy Hour will include yappetizers from Mission Barbecue, drinks, music, raffle prizes, a balloon artist, and photo opportunities. The first 100 furry guests will receive a complimentary doggy bag with a doggy bandana, tasty treats from Natural Dog Treats and Bakery, raffle ticket, and a voucher for a free sandwich from Mission Barbecue. Cape is a Caribbean band. They will be playing. They're local from West Palm Beach, and Mission Barbecue will be providing sliders. And in keeping with our business development initiatives, 6 dog-friendly eating and drinking establishments in the Renaissance Area Common are offering attendees dining discounts after the event or throughout the weekend. These include Brass Tap, Mission Barbecue, Pizza Rock, Jersey Mike's, and Hurricane Dockside Grill and your favorite place, Vanessa? BurgerFi. JKM Services, the master developer of the neighboring Boynton Village and Town Center, built the original dog park and recently completed its expansion to include an additional dog fenced area for larger dogs, a pavilion with shaded seating in each dog park, exercise equipment for dogs in each park, a 12 by 24 pavilion with picnic tables in the open green space, benches throughout the open green area, a second parking lot, and a fishing pier. The Yappy Happy Hour is free, and for more information, you can call 742-6010 or visit our website, boynton-beach.org/dogs, which includes a list of parks where dogs are permitted on leash, and also a list of all the friendly restaurants in Renaissance Common that you can take your dog. The page will eventually include all additional dog-friendly restaurants within Boynton Beach.
Thank you.
See you then.
Yes, Commissioner, Vice Mayor Katz.
I just wanted to thank Eleanor for helping put this together on fairly short notice, and incorporating the businesses in Renaissance Commons area to draw attention to them. If you haven't driven by the dog park and the expansion that's complete, it's just not open yet, you can see that, I guess a couple years back before most of us were on the commission, there was a land swap that took place to secure that green space in front of the lake there, as opposed to what the city, I think, owned on the old Boynton Beach side of the property. And the park is just amazing looking right now. It sits on a very nice, pretty big pond called a lake, but it's just an awesome centerpiece for all that new development down there that's going to draw everybody together. So thank you again, Eleanor, for putting this together on short notice, and I know it's going to be a good event.
All right. Thank you. Any further announcements? Seeing none, we're moving on to public audience. Individual speakers will be limited to 3-minute presentations. Please state your name and address for the record. And whoever's ready can begin.
You want to go first? I usually like to go last, but there's nobody else. So Piotr Blas, 113 Tara Lakes Drive, Boynton Beach, Florida 33436. So as the commission knows, and all the visitors should know, first of all, we have visitors from Shakespeare City, Stratford-on-Avon. They're hiding in the back. And we're going to have a Shakespeare festival here starting September. Anyway, I just thought I would mention that if you go to England, in Stratford-on-Avon is Anne Hathaway's cottage where Shakespeare was born. In the same spirit of very high culture, I would like to remind everybody that today is a very important double birthday. Probably nobody knows whose birthday it is, but I will remind you. It is the birthday of Johannes Brahms, the great composer, and also of Tchaikovsky. So today is a very special day for music and culture. Talking about inspiration, one of the commissioners told me, and I think the mayor reminded me, that Lake Worth has been inspired now to get energy from the Gulf Stream. Now that's a pure Boynton idea, but we love for them to do it, to try it first. I think it simply proves that it's not a bleeding edge, it's a cutting edge idea. It just occurred to me for some reason that District 4 is close to Lake Worth, and maybe we can experiment and get some energy into that district before anything else. So I repeat, the obvious idea of we are the closest point to the Gulf Stream, of getting energy and wealth from it, is beginning to catch on. I myself, as you all know, am organizing all the time the University of Boynton, and you don't see much happening because it's usually some very bright person sitting with me and trying to write a book. But we are making progress. Recently, we've been working on some ideas of Archimedes and some ideas of extending calculus, and that seems to be going fairly well. I think the mayor and the city commission are doing a fantastic job. I wish you all the best for the next 3 years. In the meantime, I am trying my hand in running for U.S. Congress from District 21, and I hope to have great support from our city. So anyway, happy birthday to Brahms and Tchaikovsky, and all the best to Boynton. Thank you.
Margaret Newton, 701 Northwest 4th Street, Boynton Beach. I come before you for 2 items. One item is to say thank you. I and my family have benefited from your not only cleaning up the sewer, but I no longer have the flooding problem that I had between, actually many people would avoid my street because of flooding. And then I read in today's agenda that you have a policy now that you're putting out concerning flooding in our area. I'm in District 2, and the people who came were fantastic. The gentlemen who came and did the work on that street were very, very courteous. When I had to get into my house, because I'm the only house on that street, they moved the barriers, etc. So I'd like to tell Public Works a big thank you. A big thank you. Second thing I'd like to mention is that there again was a terrible accident at the corner of 4th and 6th where I live. I am still picking up pieces, I'm not picking them up, the kids are, pieces of metal, etc. And I do not know who is in charge of traffic in our area. I'd like them to investigate the number of accidents that have occurred at that stop sign at 4th and 6th. It is a straight shot from 10th to my street on 6th. I'm on 6th.
Is this northeast?
Northwest.
Northwest.
It is a straight shot. So in other words, when you pick up speed leaving on 10th going south, nothing stops you until you get to that stop sign on 4th and 6th. And a lot of people are not stopping. The accident that occurred on Saturday, I believe, car was totaled. The person left the scene, but there were neighbors who saw what happened. And thank goodness they were able to, I hope, work with whoever came out. But this really is insane. I have asked and are asking now officially if stops can be placed on that street, let's see, on 4th Street from 10th to 6th. I was told that you probably would not consider it, but I want you to. I know I have been living in that area for almost 30 years, maybe a little longer. And at one time, the stop signs were on 4th Street. No, were on 6th Avenue and the 4th Street. And then they reversed them. So all I'm asking is that somebody in the department find out the statistics about the accidents on that corner, and then if something be done about it. one way or the other. And I heard the bell, so I'll sit there.
Thank you.
Mayor.
Yes, Commissioner McRae.
Thank you. Ms. Newton, I want to tell you, first of all, thank you for the comments that you made about the Public Works Group. Also, Mrs. Perry sent a letter to Mr. Colin Groff in regards to that. Also, I did a follow-up thank you as well. The guys, they were exceptional. In regards to 4th Street, I was T-boned on 4th and 7th, and I'm just saying, you know, I'm constantly getting calls about speeding. I'm sitting out in front of my home. They're speeding, and now they done started, I don't know if it's picking or not, but when they speed by me, now they go, pop, pop. So we need more officers out there. Thank you.
Hi, Susan Oyer, 140 Southeast 27th Way. Dear Mayor and Commissioners, I wish to discuss my extreme unhappiness at the last Commission meeting. There were some agenda items regarding the $220 million Town Square project, including a change of use that had a one-time only hearing. The public and developers were sworn in, but at no time were members of the public allowed to speak. This was a public hearing with no input allowed from the public. I hate to say this because I think very highly of all of you, but shame on this commission for violating my right to give input on a city project that is costing me and the residents of this city $220 million. While I'm sure the mayor was concentrating so hard on the topics he questioned, and this was not an intentional oversight, at no point did anyone else do the right thing and remind him that the public had not yet been given their chance to speak. This is not the first time this has happened. Whose job is it to interject when there are procedural errors? The vice mayor, city manager, the city clerk, the city attorney, or one of the other commissioners? I do not accept the answer that this is the mayor's meeting, quote, this is the mayor's meeting so I cannot interfere, or that I should have just walked up and waited around to be acknowledged at some point convenient to the mayor versus my right to be heard during the public input portion of this public discussion. This is a public meeting that is supposed to include input from the public. It is unacceptable for elected officials to deny the public the right to speak at a public meeting and after we were sworn in to speak. And again, I don't think this was intentional. I do think this is an oversight, but there needs to be a check in place. At this point, I feel it is only appropriate to reschedule those items regarding the town square from the last commission meeting back onto the next agenda so that the public will properly be allowed to be part of the discussion on this $220 million project we are funding. This is a republic, not a dictatorship. Never forget that the public are the ones who put you on the dais, and our voices must be heard at every meeting. Respectfully submitted, Susan Oyer. Thank you.
Susan, yes, it was an oversight, and I do apologize. We do have comment cards that I'd like for the commission on this agenda so that we do have that option so that, we, you know, if there's an item on this that if it's not second reading, technically, I was told for Robert's rules, you don't have to open up for public comment. So
It is a $220 million project.
I'm very much aware. And so with that, what I'd like to have him moving forward is that we'll have another public meeting regarding our town square, because I know it's been a while since we've had a big public meeting to talk about the progress and what is the next step, and that hopefully the commission will agree to have optional comment cards so that people don't have to stand in line, and I can let people know who's next.
Yes, I saw that's on a forthcoming agenda, and I'll be glad to think of all the ways I hate that idea and present them at the appropriate time. But I applaud that you are looking to do something to solve this problem for the future, so thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Catherine Salvi. I'm a resident of 500 Ocean, the new rental building in the area. I have been living here almost 2 years, and I'm very happy to be a new resident of Boynton. It's a very nice town, and I'm excited about all the growth. But one of the things that have been bothering me since I moved into 500 Ocean is what I believe is a scam where they have third-party people collecting monies for our water, our trash, our sewer, and my bill has gone from $70 when I moved in to almost $80, and it's only 1 year. So it'll be 2 years in November that I'm here. I believe this company is in Rochester. Now they have another company that they've sent the billing to, and they keep adding service fees on top of that. This was discussed with this gentleman here last year with one of my neighbors, and nothing was done about it. The company is called Water Watch, and the company they've now hired to collect the monies is called Con Service, and I think that's an appropriate name because it's a big con. And we're victims of a scam here, and I would like somebody to investigate this because we should be paying for our water from Boynton Water. I went away for 5 weeks last summer, and my bill was exactly the same. I called the company, and she said, I'll take $2 off. I said, I haven't been here. I haven't used any water for 5 weeks. There should be a difference in my bill. It just keeps going up and up every month. So I would like someone to look into Water Watch because I think we're being ripped off, and I suspect that some other rental buildings are having the same issue. So thank you for listening.
Thank you. And so, I don't necessarily know the agreement that you signed with 500 Ocean, but Colin, do we charge individual people in the rental unit, or is it the property as a one?
So it's a rental property, so our customer is the property owner, which is the owner of the building. So we give them one bill. They do sub-metering or some kind of billing within their private development, within their lease. We don't have any control over that. Our control is simply what we bill them. We bill them our standard rates, and we bill everybody else.
Yeah, and so the situation is, I don't think it's the city that's the issue. I think it's the property owner that...
Well, I'm sure there's some kickbacks involved as far as the property owner and the company that goes in, that is in Rochester, New York.
That is something that it's probably in the contract that you signed.
No, there was nothing in the contract that I signed about the water bill and the sewer and trash.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Tracy Fern from 500 Ocean. I'm a fellow neighbour of Kathy's. We've had... Oh.
No worries.
As you can tell, I'm English, so I'm very new to how these kind of things work. This is my first time at this type of meeting. We've been in contact with the city already. We've had a major problem with mould at 500 Ocean. It's sort of a brand new building. It's only been open for just over a year. We've been there for 8 months, and we are just infested with mould. We've tried everything. We've tried to work with the management of 500 Ocean, just been fobbed off. It's our fault. We're doing this wrong. And we're the only person suffering from mould. That's what we've been told for 8 months. We've now found out we're not the only people suffering from mould. Many people have got a mould problem at 500 Ocean. The management is just terrible. They've harassed us, they've retaliated. The moment we contacted the city, they started trying to evict us, and we've got all sorts of legal notices, etc. Glenn Wexler came out from Community Standards, and I have to say he was absolutely fantastic. Can't speak, more highly of him. He came into our apartment and said, "You've got mould. Nobody should have to live like this." It's advertised as a luxury development. We pay a lot of money to live there, and it just isn't up to the standards. And now all the residents are now speaking because they the management shut down our community board where we would talk sort of online, and obviously they shut it down because all the issues at 500 Ocean are getting out of hand. Everything sort of, security is terrible, there's crime, there's drugs, there's prostitutes, there's, things getting stolen, etc. The amenities are all broken, and this is a brand new building. They got a tax break from you guys of 4.4 million. They're not doing what they should do, and they're trying to cover it up. So, one of our other residents is a 30-year-old architect. He thinks we've got sick building syndrome. He thinks the ventilation has not been done correctly. He thinks the construction has not been done properly. He thinks that everything's basically been covered up, done on the cheap, and it's just made to look pretty on the outside. A lot of us are sick, including myself and my partner. We've got various sort of illnesses that are all documented. Little boys of 5-year-old, they're sick. Other families are sick, and people are starting to talk on social media. Palm Beach Post are running an article on it. So my question really is, what other help can we get from you guys? We need experts to come in to test the air quality and actually just come and inspect and actually see what's going on, because the management are not doing anything about it, and people are getting sick, and it's on your watch, and they get a massive tax break, and we just need some support. And say, Glenn's been great from my own personal point of view of my own apartment, but there's a general problem with that building, and it's only going to get worse. Thank you.
All right. I mean, my comment from the speaker before was that there's a lot of language in the contract. I'm sure it was at least 5 to 10 pages that she signed, and that kind of gives you the wherewithal with your rights and liabilities. Under Florida Statute 83, you have certain rights. And so unless something is sent by certified mail to that address of record of the landlord, nothing, and it's nothing that you tell them to do, whether it be in writing or verbally, counts. So, the situations, I don't want to tell you that you may need to have a lawyer look at the contract that you have to determine your rights.
No, we've done that from our own personal point of view, but there is problems with the building, the construction. How is...
So
all 341 HVAC units were not wired incorrectly, yet they've been inspected and passed by somebody. So how can that have happened?
You can get the records are public, and you can ask the inspector, determine who the inspector was that approved it all. And that's kind of where we're at, is that someone did approve of it. I don't have those records, and then you would need to get your own expert to disprove our inspector.
I don't know whether it's your inspector or a private inspector. I just know that every single HVAC unit has been wired incorrectly, and they had to come around and redo them all. But if they had been inspected and passed off before the unit had opened.
And
it's all those sort of problems.
So that's the other issues, is that if they had to redo that, then it may have not been re-inspected.
No, but I'm saying, how would the building have opened had it been inspected when you've got those type of issues?
I don't have that answer. All I know is that unless someone tells me differently from staff, that someone from our building department inspected it and approved it.
But can we get somebody out from the city to come and look at the issues that all the residents seem to have and just, have a look at it?
Colin, would you like to?
So since this is a rental building, the city does have regulations through community standards. Glenn Wexler, community standards, he's been out there. We are in the process of working with the owner through our process to require them to do some air quality testing, to provide some information to us. So that's where our authority is because it's a rental unit, it has to meet certain standards. And if they're not meeting that standard, they have to demonstrate how they're going to bring it up to our standard or citation. So we're working with them on all of those issues. And we recommend people just call our community standards. It goes into the record, and then we'll go out and inspect that. If the rental unit is not habitable, then they're required to bring it up to a standard. So I do know Glenn's working with several people. I would encourage people to call and get it on the list so we can inspect it and look at it to make sure. And then I do know that I checked today, we are working directly with the owner to make sure those things, and if they don't do it, then it goes into citation through that whole process. And y'all are aware of what the process is that we go through to fine them and enforce the rules that we have.
Okay. Yes.
Colin, how quickly can we have those inspectors come in? Because these people are breathing this air.
Oh, absolutely. So we inspect it. If it's a requirement, the first thing we do is send them notice, and we give them a certain amount of time to give us a report on the air quality.
Approximately?
Glenn's not here. I was told today that they've done that already on the ones that we've had complaints for. We understand there may be more, but the ones we've received...
I've got someone coming tomorrow.
Yeah, hers is one of them, because he's been out to yours. So hers is one of them. And so the owners have been notified that they have to get an expert in their company in there to do the testing and to provide us the report. They're generally given 30 days. I will check and get you more information later, as I don't know exactly how much time we gave him on this. A lot of it depends on the issue and what he saw and what he thinks the amount of time they should have to respond back to the city. So I will get you more information when I get it. That was the very brief, I found out it today, and it was a very brief conversation, so I don't have all of the facts yet, but I will get it to you in a report and let you know.
I appreciate that. My concern here is that they need an answer right away whether or not they need to leave or they can stay for a few more days or whatever the situation may be.
If I could just say, the management actually were moving us, then they weren't moving us, then they were moving us, and then they weren't moving us. And that's where we're at. Do you know what I mean? We've just been fobbed off and pushed from pillar to post.
Commissioner McCray?
Thank you. Colin, I'm going to echo what Commissioner Tai said. I'm just saying this needs to be expedited. I'm just saying we're playing with people's lives. They're breathing. I don't know what the management told you, the owners, but we kind of need stuff. I need a feedback myself. I'm just saying because this is unacceptable. And she wanted to know how did people move in because we gave them an occupancy. They had to come through the city for us to go ahead and okay the building for them to go ahead and start moving in. Am I correct?
Well, we fully inspect. Now, they did do a lot of private inspection on their own, so a lot of it was done through, we have rules that allow that. But we do have responsibility because it's a rental unit to make sure it's in livable condition, and we are going through that process. I will get you more information. I kind of just found out about this today, and I was asking questions. I need to sit down with Glenn and Pierre. We're going to do that, and we're going to work through, and what are the time frames we allow. We may squeeze those down and not allow as much time as we normally do. I have to look, we're going to get together and look at it all with the chief.
Right.
And figure out a way. Again, it's fairly new. I know they may have had it for a while. We kind of, by the time it got to us, it's just been very recent. So
all right,
we're working on it.
we all on the same page. You just found out today. We just found out today, so you need to keep us abreast from this point on.
And if you need any help from the residents, I can get a group together and give you as much support as you need.
And I do have several names and numbers now. So,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So I'd just like to say thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Romulus?
Right, and my comment as well in regards to, my comment as well in regards to what Colin is saying is find a way, and I know that you said the community board was taken down, so maybe perhaps through the Nextdoor app or something where you can communicate with the building.
We've done that. We've actually set up a private Facebook page.
Okay.
Because as soon as we started putting these things on, the management just shut it completely down and won't let us communicate with each other. So we actually started that. But we've got respiratory problems. My hair's falling out. We've got skin complaints. Small children are ill. But they just kept saying it's only us.
Right.
And we thought for ages it was only us, but now we can communicate with other people. We're finding it's a much bigger problem.
So the emphasis of what I'm trying to say is not just for the communication, but for also getting out this information that you received tonight, which is to have them officially call the city and make the reports of whatever their concerns or issues are. That way we're documenting all of these things. So if they can reach out to our Community Standards Department and express whatever their specific complaint is, that way we have a record of each resident and each of their concerns. That would be important. So please share that with your building residents as well. That way everybody's on the same page about what to do and how to move forward.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
coming
you for your
here
help.
tonight.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
Herb Shaw, 1711 Woodford, Boynton Beach. Tonight is probably one of the most important information projects that I've worked on, and it's important. The IPC has concluded that carbon emissions 45% by 2030 and 100% by 2050 prevent extreme climate change with global warming of 1.5 degrees Celsius. We don't act immediately and start aggressively reducing emissions, our children will face an uncertain impact in flooded coastal cities, food shortages, water shortages, all kinds of messes. And personally, and I've been on this for a long time, I hate to give you the news now, we are now a point of no return. A point of no return. Point of no return. I hate to repeat it. We can slow it down and have a decent planet. We have no place else to go unless we pay our way up to Mars. The cost of solar energy is lower than it's ever been. I think that more and more solar energy should be introduced. I hope that this city, we need solar on town square buildings, putting solar on City Hall and other new buildings will demonstrate the city's commitment to substantially save the city money over the long term and can provide continual electricity to public facilities after a long hurricane season. And solar panels pay for themselves within 10 years. I have a sure, perfect way that people throughout this city, state, and country can solve the problem in a year and a half. In the 2020 elections, get rid of this dictator. We live in a dictatorship right now. Let's face it. And if we don't get rid of Trump in another 4 years, nothing that we can do, including climate change, because he believes in it. And Republicans in the House, and especially in the Senate with McConnell, it's a disaster. They're complicit. They are complicit. And if you don't like what I'm saying, that's too bad, because you know, and everybody knows I tell it the way it is. And it's a sorry state of affairs, okay? Something has to be done. I'm telling you, 2020 is critical too, besides the climate change.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak at public audience? Seeing none, public audience is now closed. Moving on to administrative. Appoint eligible members to serve in vacant positions on city advisory boards. I believe we do have applicants for the Building Board of Adjustments and Appeals. Vice Mayor Katz.
Nominate Timothy Dornblaser.
Second.
All those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Board Member McCray. Commissioner McCray, I'm sorry.
Damian Brink.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? And then on the Library Board, Commissioner McCray.
Robin Bouchard.
Do I have a second?
A second.
All those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? And that is it for the Advisory Board applicants. Moving on to consent agenda. Someone like to remove one of the items from consent agenda? Do I have a second?
We need to pull consent agenda. I'd like to pull item A.
Item A?
A, the first
All right.
one. I thought Commissioner Ty was going to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, I was debating.
All right. Can I get a second for the motion to approve the remainder of the consent agenda?
Second.
All those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Consent agenda item 6A, accept Surtax capital project status report for second quarter of fiscal year 2018-19, January through March 2019.
Thank you. I spoke with the city manager today, and she told me that Commissioner Ty, I keep calling you Ty because I don't want to murder your last name, so
That's
just
all right.
bear with me. Ty's easy for me to say, and I thought he was going to pull it, but we do need an update for the citizens in the audience on what's going on with Surtax money.
Good evening, Andrew Mack, Director of Public Works. As part of the backup, we have a list of the projects and the status. I don't have a presentation, but I can talk about any of the particular projects that you have. Right now, currently, we have $10 million in projects, and $3.9 million have been awarded through our project process. We still have some work to do this year. We have some bids that are out right now and some continuing service contracts that will help us complete some of these projects this fiscal year. If there's any particular project, I can talk more in depth on that if you'd like to discuss any one particular.
You know, I'm sorry to put you on the spot like this,
Okay.
but I'm going to give you my copy because I'm just saying, you know, some of these things need to be read off for them to hear. You know, like Children's Museum, what are we doing? You know, you got your copy, you want mine.
No, I have a copy. I have my copy.
Okay, well, just tell them like what we're doing at Sarah Sims, at
Sure.
Carolyn Sims, you know, just hit some of the highlights, let them know what's going on.
Sure. I won't go through Town Square. I believe there's going to be an update next meeting
presentation
on
on
Town
that
Square.
one, that's good.
Yep. So currently, we did some general HVAC upgrades that are complete. That was at some of our facilities. One was at the senior center. We have replaced the air conditioning units there. Public Works, we painted the fuel tanks. We had a warehouse. At the warehouse, we replaced the doors at the warehouse. In Rolling Green, we're currently working on cleaning up that site and rehabbing the existing admin building there. We've replaced 2 HVAC units at Hester Center that are complete. Also at the old Fire Station 2, Police Department 2, we replaced the HVAC unit there. Oceanfront, we currently have under construction, which was just awarded recently, was the renovation of the roofs and the shade sails. I always have a problem saying that. Let's see, the other highlighted big projects. Currently, we're under design for Hester Center. We're working on the complete redesign of that park, which will include the sports fields, lighting, and some improvements to the interior of the building. We just completed some improvements at Palmetto Park, which is the fencing, and we are currently working on renovating the bathrooms and the lighting in the park. Let's see. At Oceanfront Park, we're also doing the stairs, which are currently under construction. They're about 50% complete. Model Block, which is Northwest 11th, that's now complete. That project is done. Sarah Sims Park is about 50% complete. We should see a lot of work being done there in the next 60 days. Right now, they've got the property graded. They have the infrastructure for the water, sewer, drainage is in. We're currently installing the pavilions, or I think are almost done there, and the bathroom is under construction. We painted the Carolyn Sims Center and the Denson Pool. We're currently out for pricing on the repair of the fence, or replacement of the existing fence on the pool. Let's see. Let's see. The other biggest projects we're doing right now are the ADA sidewalk repairs and street improvements. We finished 3rd Avenue and 9th Avenue, where staff is also working on pricing on various repairs throughout the city right now as well, as far as street improvements. And I think we just finished some improvements on Quantum Boulevard as well. Yes?
What percentage, I don't know if you can answer this right now or if you'd have to come back to us, but what percentage of these projects are being funded through or being done and bid out to local businesses under our local preference ordinance?
I'd have to get to, we currently have the local preference procurement rules that we put in place, so we try to get as many local businesses as we can. I couldn't give you a definite number of what has been awarded, but every time our staff has been instructed to solicit bids from local preference, for local vendors.
I'd like a report back of how many of our projects since inception of the surtax have been done through local. How much money are we pouring back into the local economy with these projects? I'd like to have those in numbers, please.
Yeah, and this is my first one doing the quarterly update, so next time we'll do this, I'll have a little presentation to summarize for you, so we can do that. So for the public, who'll have the ability to follow along as well.
Right. Thank you. First of all, I don't know, I didn't see it on there, I don't know who was responsible, but for Seacrest, they placed a crosswalk down by where the library was, okay? That's on the south section on Seacrest. And it has a light and it has a crosswalk, and I just want to tell whoever was responsible, whether it was the county or the city, thank you for putting the crosswalk there with the flasher. Job well done. You made mention of the senior center. Mayor, one of the constituents from the senior center who lives in Leisureville said that he spoke to you about one of the freezers at the senior center that's not working, and he said that the reply that the mayor gave, I'm not throwing anybody under the bus, was that we have no money. But at the senior center, I'm just saying, we're short of a freezer, okay? So I'm just saying, we do have money. I'm just saying we can get a freezer there and get some repairs. I'm just saying, don't let the senior center go down, and please don't kill me because I'm down there eating, okay? That's all I need to say, Mayor. I'm ready to offer a motion to approve. Thank you, sir.
Second.
All right, thank you. All those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to bids and purchases over $100,000. Proposed resolution number 19-053, approve utilizing the state of Florida contract with Concordance Medical, Henry Sheen Medical, McKesson Medical, and Medical Solutions for the city's medical supplies on an as-needed basis with an estimated annual expenditure of $150,000 and authorize the city manager to sign agreements with each of the four companies. The state of Florida alternate source contract procurement process satisfies the city's competitive bid requirements.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Approve the bid for repairs and emergency services for water distribution, wastewater collection, and stormwater utility systems to Madison Bar Corp. And Johnson Davis, Inc. on a primary and secondary basis to the lowest, most responsible bidders who met all specifications with an estimated annual amount of $175,000 to be used on an as-needed basis.
So move.
Second.
Any discussion from the board? Seeing none, all those in favor state so by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed. Award bid for front-load containers and roll-off repairs to GT Supplies, Inc. of Riviera Beach as the lowest, most responsive, and responsible bidder who met all specifications of the anticipated annual expenditure of $200,000 on an as-needed basis.
So move.
Second for discussion.
Yes.
I spoke with the city manager today, and maybe somebody could help enlighten me. In the year 17, we spent $59,500. The year 2018, we spent $59,000. So now we're looking at something you all are saying $200,000. I know some of them are like in disrepair, but I'm kind of like looking, saying, we should have been doing a little bit more repairing, instead of coming down with a lump sum saying $200,000. Can somebody insight me, please, and insight the public as well? Thank you.
Tim Howard, Assistant City Manager. Excuse my voice. Commissioner, you're probably right. We probably should have been doing more in the previous years. We had some difficulty with this contract previously, with the vendor and the pricing, so we went out for a new one. And this is on an as-needed basis. It's not that we're going to spend $200,000, but I know Andrew's working on cleaning up the Rolling Green site and all those containers out there. So this just gives him the ability up to that amount. So he'll get done as many as he can get done.
Okay, since you mentioned of the Rolling Green side, I'd like to say to this commissioner, the mayor, vice mayor, I'm just saying, if you all have not been out to the Rolling Green site, please go out there and see what they're doing. I'm just saying they're doing a phenomenal job. I was one of those that was speaking for the residents because they said that was rats and things up there, but now it's a 360-degree turnaround. Also, while I have you up there, I need to ask the question, what happened to, we used to paint the dumpsters, whatever happened to that program?
Debbie here?
You can get...
That was, I think, just the one-time the Art in Public Places program you're talking about, Commissioner, when they...
That was it, yeah.
Yeah.
Was that was?
Yeah, it was Art. Andrew Mack. That was the Art in Public Places program, and we're not doing that currently, but that's something we could talk to Debbie about re-engaging.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I enjoy seeing the nice little dumpsters, I'm just saying, we see, let me go ahead and say, because I'm about to, excuse me, the oldest thing sitting up here, we always start things and have a nice go, and then somewhere down the road, we drop the ball, and I'm just saying, but we need to stop dropping the balls. It's not often that we get things that we're doing right. When we get them, we should continue. Ready to vote, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. No further discussion. All those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to public hearing. Item 8A, approved conditional use. I have a request to table it to May 21st.
Mayor, let me make a comment about this, please.
Yes.
In regards to this tabling, I'm just saying this is the second time that this has been before us to table. I'm just saying, how many more tablings do they expect us to give before we have to act on this? I'm just saying, somebody needs to let them know that they need to meet and start telling us something before we just, I feel like it should be just taken off the table. I'm just saying, because the citizens that live in the two developments across from this, they're sending us emails, they're all upset, and I'm just saying we kind of need to do some closure. I'm just saying, so somebody need to reach out and say, call my name, say Commissioner McCray said we need to do something by the next meeting. I don't care, I'm just saying we need to stop tabling this.
All right, so is it currently on the table?
Yes.
Okay. Does anybody want to remove it from the table?
You know, applicant requests table and continues to May 21st. That's for the next meeting. I'm in favor of like going, to May 21st, but after that,
We have
we
the
need to
ability
act.
to remove from the table and vote on the item. I agree. Okay, I'd like to have item, 8C removed from the table.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Move forward with items 8B. Proposed ordinance number 19-014, second reading, and proposed ordinance number 19-015, second reading.
So move.
An ordinance of...
Yeah, you have to do it.
Yeah, they got to read it first.
An ordinance, okay, here is 19-014, an ordinance of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, amending Ordinance 89-38 by amending the future land use element of the comprehensive plan for property commonly known as Harbor K Townhomes and described herein, owned by United Developers Group LLC, changing the land use designation from special high-density residential to mixed-use low, providing for conflicts, severability, and an effective date. Then the second ordinance we have is 19-015, an ordinance of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, amending Ordinance 02-013 to rezone a parcel of land described herein and commonly referred to as Harbor K from infill planned unit development to mixed-use 1, providing for conflict, severability, and an effective date.
The applicant would like to begin.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. My name is Bradley Miller of Miller Land Planning at 508 East Boynton Beach Boulevard here in Boynton Beach, and representing the applicant for this. This is a second reading. 8B is the second reading for land use and zoning for this property. I'll go through it quickly, and then the other item is site plan, and if it's acceptable, I'll present all of it at one time.
Yes, please.
So this property is located on Federal Highway just north of Gateway Boulevard. It is part of your CRA redevelopment plan for the applications that we've submitted for both the land use and zoning to go to a mixed land use and mixed zoning designation. The proposal is for 18 townhome units. There is a total of 28 that are allowed, so we're well below that number of units that are allowed onto the property, feeling like this fits into the area. The slide on the screen is showing the left side shows the land use designation that we're proposing, which is the mixed-use low designation, again following your CRA redevelopment plan, and the slide on the right is the mixed-use zoning of MU1 that we're proposing for the site and for the 18 units. With the 18 units, it's 64% of what the maximum could be. For the site plan itself, this has access with a private road called Lakeside Harbor that runs through the middle of the property. There's buildings, there's 8 units on the northern side of Lakeside Harbor, 10 units on the southern side of the units. Each of the units are 3 stories, townhome style with a 2-car garage on the ground floor level. And then there are 15 parking spaces that are available for guests and for any surplus parking. This provides you some of the detail. We have, there's a maximum height here of 45 feet, which we're well below that by about 7 feet. We do have, as you go around the property, to the north, east, and southern sides, there's either a wall or a picket fence or a combination thereof, which will kind of control some of the elevations of the property as it gets developed, and it'll also provide security and separation. There's also perimeter buffering that goes around the perimeter of the property that complies with the current code. There is a gate that leads to the 10 residential lots that are to the east of us. That gate will be improved as part of this development. We'll continue working with the homeowners. There's been letters throughout the project that my client has sent out to the homeowners. We did meet with them prior to our first reading. So there's been efforts here, which you'll see in a minute, of commitments being made by my client to continue working with the neighbors here as this site gets developed. The property has some amenities to it. There's a common pool area on the northern side. On the southeast side, there's a park area that's a passive park, a little barbecue location. There's also our artwork, which will be along Lakeside Harbor Drive for the Art and Public Places requirement. The units themselves are ranged between around 22 to 2,300 square feet of living area. Again, two-car garage. We are going to have some restrictions that we've already volunteered. The restriction that the garages are only used for parking of the vehicles, so you don't get the fill up the garage with storage scenario. And we'll put that into our HOA documents. These renderings give you some idea of the amenities within the community of the pool and the park. So commitments for the HOA, several of these are already in the conditions of approval that are before you tonight, of the trash bins being brought out. Trash bins will be with each unit, so they'll be brought out to the street and then taken in the same day. Again, the garages are just to be used for parking. And then there's no changes or modifications to the patio, porches, or balconies. That all of this will be put into the HOA documents as this project moves forward into platting and permitting. The owner is also committed to resurfacing the entire length of Lakeside Harbor Drive from Dixie Highway all the way down to the water, so there's a consistent appearance to the roadway, not only for this project, but for the residents to the east of us. He's committed to have within his documents that the residents of Harbor Cay, our project, are not allowed to park their vehicles at the end of Lakeside Harbor. There's a dock down there. They'll be allowed to come down there and unload or load if they have a paddleboard or a kayak or something like that, but no long-term parking at the end of that to conflict with the residents. He's also committed at our last hearing to, at the end of Lakeside Harbor Drive, there's some buildup of dirt and grass and rock. There's a railroad tie that's kind of creating a pooling effect as drainage runs down that roadway. And so he's willing to fix that as part of the development of Harbor Cay. The picture here is showing you that area. The other parts here is that he has committed to improving the gate and including a pedestrian gate there. The residents of Harbor Cay do have the right to use that roadway and use the dock at the end of the road. He is willing to be a participant, a proportional participant, if the owners want to look at making improvements to the dock in either now or in the future. And then he has also offered up that he's willing to take a look and be involved in a proportionate share of if there's some drainage improvements in that road. Right now, Lakeside Harbor Drive has no drainage system to it at all. So if you recall last time, a lot of the discussion pertained to the drainage situation out there. Last 3 days have kind of tested that. And one thing that we did check was that the level of rain that came over the last 3 days was nowhere close to a 25 3-year or 25-year, 3-day storm that we probably talked about too much last time. The improvement of this development and the development itself will actually take whatever drainage that there is from that property that's flowing down Lakeside Harbor Drive and take that away, because it will be retained into the drainage system that will be constructed as part of Harbor K. At the last meeting, and there were each of you, and Commissioner Penserga, your name's not going to come up here because I don't think you gave me any comments to follow up on, but the others, and if I did, I apologize and would try to address them today. Commissioner Katz, I had brought up that there is a legal document that addressed the roadway. It was a judgment that actually I provided to Mr. Sheriff and Ms. Bridgman to look through. That legal document gives the rights to Harbor K to use Lakeside Harbor Drive, unless there's a different opinion than Ms. Bridgman feels. In my non-legal review of it, it seemed pretty straightforward that was what the judgment was about, was the rights to that roadway and the use of the dock for all of the residents along Lakeside Harbor Drive. You were also asking about the HOA. Harbor K will be required to have its own HOA. If there's some continued discussions with the homeowners of combining it, our client is willing to do that. It's kind of outside of the purview of the approval here, but we'll continue having those conversations. DOT, we talked about an outfall location, an inlet that's along Federal Highway with DOT. I'll show you here in a moment. We did get a response back to them that the DOT is willing to allow us to have that outfall. It'll have to continue through the permitting process, just like your city, but that's there and documented. Commissioner McCray, you were asking about the gate. The gate will be improved and secured. I've noticed here in the last couple of days the gate's been taken off completely. So as the project gets developed, that gate will come back on. There will be a pedestrian gate added to it with some security. Again, that will be continued discussions with the homeowners to the east of us to make sure that gets done sufficiently. Commissioner Romulus, you were asking about the entrance. We did take a look at that to try to improve on it. If there's a way through the permitting to wiggle the buildings a little bit to the north and to the south and open that up a little more, we're going to try to do that. Taking a look at the plan that the architect prepared, there might be a sidewalk in there that we will work with staff, and if that can become a landscape area, I think that will help. But we'll continue looking at those aspects as we go through the permitting. And then Mayor Grant, you were asking about security. I did meet with Officer Baldino from the police department. We went through the security ideas for both during construction, after construction. Most of it is kind of the typical fencing during construction, putting the equipment together at night in a way, a kind of interlock. We've all seen that in construction sites. And then if needed, and which we're really not anticipating it, but adding some lighting, there's some conflicts there that might be objectionable to the neighbors, but that's something that we could look into. And then you asked about the king tide question. We did look into that. Kind of jumping around here. Should have put the slide in earlier. This is actually the response from DOT about the inlet, which is really just confirming what we had talked about last time, that the DOT will allow for that outfall after the 25-year, 3-day storm event is designed for on the property itself. So it's only when it gets up to, I think we're in the range of about 12 inches of rain over 3 days to meet that criteria. The king tide, is I looked into the definition from NOAA just to really nail down what that is, and it's really referring to high tides. The smaller print on the right that's probably too small for you to read is our engineer's calculations, Neil Janov's calculations of evaluating for a high tide situation. And then the bottom part is his summation, which is enlarged, where there's a 0.03 acre feet increase for the runoff and a 0.03 feet in maximum storage in a high tide situation. So the design that's already evaluated and being implemented as part of this project is there's going to be just, if it's a king tide, high tide situation, would be just a minimal increase over that. Mr. Janov's here if you want more of the technical side of it. So I wanted to respond to those items that you had inquired about. So with that, I can see that my slide shifted a little bit. So what we're asking for final readings on here tonight are the change of the land use, change of the zoning, both to the mixed-use designations from your CRA plan, and then the final approval of the site plan for the 18 units. We have reviewed the staff reports for all of those and are in agreement with the recommended conditions that are part of the staff report for the site plan. So I'm here, Mr. Janov is here if there's any further questions from you, or if there's some questions from public that we could address afterwards.
Commissioner McCray, would you like to begin?
Sure. Who removed the gate? Do y'all know?
I don't.
Okay, next. The information that was given to legal in regards to the roadway and the dock.
We reviewed the information that he provided. That is not a city issue. It's a private property owner issue. The issue was litigated among the private property owners. That was the information that the gentleman provided to you today regarding the final judgment. That's the information he provided to us. We don't know if in the future these private property owners may litigate again, but the advice is for the city not to get involved in that private property issue. So the voting on the site plan and on the item that's before you today would be just voting on what they've applied for, what they've submitted, but not treading into the discussion or the dispute that the private property owners have had historically.
All right. Vice Mayor?
So, not to get too deep into that discussion because you just said not to wade into it, but is your client of the understanding based on that legal judgment that he does not have unilateral ability based on his number of units to decide how the road is treated in the future or how the dock would be treated in the future? Like, is that your client's perception based on that judgment that he couldn't just go and unilaterally do something to the dock without input from his neighbors?
It is. Okay. We haven't gone into full discussion of that, and the judgment itself really doesn't get into the discussions doesn't take into account that this site might be subdivided and put into future ownership's hands. But that's where I say that Harbor K itself will have its own HOA, and then if there's if all of the owners out there want to go to the effort of forming a larger Lakeside Harbor Drive HOA, that's for them to decide later and put all those together. But as far as the requirements from the city and the rules and regulations for the city for this type of zoning and the type of development, we'll have to go through permitting and platting, and the platting process requires us to have an HOA for our development.
Any other questions from the board? Seeing none?
Yeah.
Yep. Commissioner McCray.
Thank you. I'm back in regards to the road because I'm trying to make sure that I'm understanding. You said that the guy who's going to do this project is going to do the whole roadway all the way to the dock.
He's going to resurface the road all the way to the dock, which that's not a redo to the road. That's making sure that after ours is constructed, that last top of asphalt will, and the I don't have the right term, the last surface. So it's a continual look and appearance of Lakeside Harbor Drive all the way down through the community, all the way down to the water.
Oh, but my take is that, I don't want to go back to this dock again, but he's not under the impression that if he do this, he could still have some kind of guarantee to use that dock. I'm just saying, okay.
No, not at all. He's doing that as a good neighbor.
All right. Okay.
We're going to open it up to public comments. And did everybody get sworn in? All right, seeing no public comments.
That comment's coming. One guy.
Yeah, there was not a swearing in.
Yeah, that's where me in.
So, two questions. You were here previously, right?
Correct.
And were you sworn in previously?
Yes.
Okay. And raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that everything that you just spoke about today, which was a continuation of your previous swearing in, is true and correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Want to do it for everyone else now, too?
Sir, are you going to speak? Okay. Is anyone else going to speak? Please stand, raise your right hand. Andrew? Do you swear or affirm that your testimony this evening will be true? Thank you.
Yep.
I didn't raise my hand, I apologize.
That's all right, we got you.
Got me?
Are we doing appointments?
Please state your
Jonathan
name.
Reingold, 631 Lakeside Harbor, Boynton Beach. Thank you for listening to me this evening. I need 5 minutes. I spent the last 3 or 4 weeks reading about 3,000 codes, Florida building codes, FEMA codes. One of the other residents assisted me in that. And I could prove everything that I spoke of last time. It's on the record, and I chose not to do that. So I went with legal, because that's where I really think this thing lands, legally. And I'm not an attorney, but I know there's one present. When you purchase a piece of property, whatever judgments or liens or easements, whatever rights that were on that property when you purchased it is what you purchased. You can't go backwards. And I feel that the developer that's coming here, yes, he did make attempts to speak to some people right after he purchased the properties, but he didn't speak to all the homeowners. He spoke to 2. There were 2 other people at the meeting. His first meeting, they had no stake. They didn't own property on Lakeside Harbor. He claims it's 7 or 8. I personally was not there. There is an easement on the road. You just discussed that you don't want to get involved with it. Legally, on an easement, there's a term called overburden of an easement, sometimes called an abuse of an easement. These are legal terms. I looked them up. I did not go to law school. Again, I've always stated that this project doesn't work because of that. The United States Code, I have the code, I could read it to you, states that private property, a municipality, a state, any governing body cannot get involved with. It's 410-KKK-4 of the U.S. Code number 16. That's my gate. I own it with 11 other people. The developer happens to own his 1/11th of the gate. I'm happy with my gate, and I don't want my gate touched. He doesn't have the right to redo my gate. He doesn't have the right to redo my street. It's not his street, it's our street. There is no distinction in the paperwork and the rights in the easement that separate the dock from Lakeside Harbor. The gate's there for a very specific reason. It doesn't matter. We as the homeowners could put that anywhere we want. Now you go to the HOA. So we're going to make this new Harbor K HOA. Well, I've decided that I'm going to make the Lakeside Harbor HOA. Does the Harbor K HOA also have to join the Lakeside Harbor HOA? And does the Lakeside Harbor HOA have to join the Harbor K HOA? And I ask this because what if the rules of the HOAs conflict? That's going to be an issue.
There's no time limit.
Okay, that's going to be an issue. I also feel that maybe certain engineers spoke with certain residents and gave them advice on what they should do for their property to better benefit the Harbor K thing. I believe that's collusive, and I believe it was a mistake. You know, an engineer shouldn't be talking to anyone but his client. Okay? This project doesn't work. I mean, I talked about the flooding, and you're going to control the flooding with the 100-year storm and the 1,200-year storm. And, you know, there is a storm out there that no one knows about. It's a very difficult thing where I live. It's an amazing private little piece of property. But again, I emphasize that it is a private road. What you purchased that day on closing is what you own. A true developer does his diligence and would have spent much time. I have bought property, okay, I have bought an option on the property, and I forfeit the money if I don't close. And that gives me time to do my due diligence. I don't see that being done. Lakeside Harbor is a private street with easements and rights recorded. I've been to the county. I've seen the book. Took a long time to actually find it. And no municipality has the right to touch that street. We do. I don't want a sidewalk in front of my house. And what I purchased said that unless my neighbors get together with me and we decide to pave the road, we can't pave the road. The developer owns the north side of Lakeside Harbor. You can approve anything you want to approve, and he can build anything he wants there. The developer owns the south side of Lakeside Harbor. Again, you can approve, and he can build anything you could approve there. The developer does not own the street called Lakeside Harbor. You, as a municipality, as a governing body, according to this code, do not have the jurisdiction to legally give my rights to Lakeside Harbor away to anyone. And it's written. And riparian rights, okay, I personally believe he will make a play for the dock. How, I don't know. The better dressed lawyer who gets paid more an hour will get that done. Okay? Again, I have the codes, I have the easements, I have the books, I have the pages. Forget the flooding. All pumps on Lakeside Harbor are running perfect as of Sunday. We actually added one. But you don't have the right to touch my street. It's not your street to touch, nor is it his. Build what you want on the north, build what you want on the south. My gate is not being moved. There's a reason my gate is off. That's called contempt prior to investigation for you educated people. You can't come up here and make a statement if you don't know the answer to it and why that gate was removed. Again, I thank you for your time. Thank you again.
Thank you. We had some other people who raised their hands. If they'd like to speak, please come to the podium.
Yes, hi. My name's Todd Bertosi. I reside at 626 Lakeside Harbor. I'm 100% behind what Mr. Reingold has stated. I don't know what more I can add to that. I can add to the storm that came through last week, flooded my house. That was a 2-hour rainstorm, 4 o'clock in the morning. So I don't know what they're talking with these charts, and do not make any sense. How can they raise the elevation of their property and create a bowl for our entire neighborhood there? You raise the road, resurface the road, you're raising the elevation again and making it worse for my property. I mean, I just don't understand the process of this flooding. Like I said, I'm 100% behind Mr. Reingold. I don't know what they're talking about with talking to all the neighbors. Most of the neighbors, including me, John, 4 others that I am in contact with, object to this. So I don't know which neighbor he's talking about. One neighbor, I was at this meeting, and I object to this. It sounds like he's making it sound like we're all for this project, but we're not. We're perfectly content, except for the flooding issue. This is a viable neighborhood, a historical neighborhood. You're talking about history. This neighborhood goes back to 1898. The documents go back to that. We have historical homes, and you want to put this in front of this historical neighborhood? That's all I can add. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mark Mahar. I was here for the first reading as well. I'm the owner of 618 Lakeside Harbor. It's a southern property that abuts the Harbor Cay project. I hear the concerns of a couple of the neighbors. I'm concerned a little bit about accuracy that's being presented to this board, to this commission. I'm concerned about what was just stated and what's accurate and what's not. I had something I was going to say here, and it's kind of along the lines of what I said in the first reading. It was very positive in the first reading, and it's still very positive. But the inaccuracies that I'm hearing is whether people are being invited to meetings, that this particular developer had made requests, and it just so happens that the 2 homeowners prior to me say that they're general contractors. I'm a licensed general contractor here in the state of Florida. So we're all general contractors. We have knowledge of doing developments. We have knowledge of building. We have knowledge and a requirement as a license holder here in the state is to get knowledgeable about whether it's the substrate, which is the soil, the foundation, to be able to build the project, and so on, to include drainage. It's our job. And we have that as a ready reference. All the materials of building codes, FEMA codes. They change throughout the years. We're required to be current with that. You know, John came up here and said that, you know, that he's not in agreement with things, but he didn't attend the meetings of the developer. So I don't understand that. Why didn't you attend? It's one thing to not want something out to your west that abuts the federal highway or not want development, but everybody has a right to build. And finally, we have a good project. We have a developer that wants to work with us, willing to participate. I'm going to mention there are 6 things that are very positive, and I'm just going to hit them very lightly about this project. First of all, the developer is willing to improve the larger parcel, and he wants to do the right thing. That's huge. Second thing is a reduction of units. They can do much more, but they're going to, instead of 28, they want to do 18. That's awesome. The size or height can go up to 45 feet. We're talking about 37 or 38 feet here. I mean, I have a right to build to 30, 35 feet for my lot, and so does every other owner down the street. This project will add value to the neighborhood. My fellow homeowners, neighbors, owners, common owners of the street talked about historic neighborhood. Yes. This is a historic site that has documentation dated back to the 1890s. The homes aren't historic. None of these homes are from the 1890s. None of them are deemed historic to date. The drainage plan. The developer has a plan and has even further incorporated items into the plan. It has a requirement as a developer to include whoever they hire as a general contractor to build it within the code. The FEMA guidelines have been enforced and are more strict today. That's a requirement of the developer. And how they're going to do their foundation is going to be within the guidelines of how FEMA and the Florida Building Code works together. It's a requirement, and it's up to us to make sure that they do that thing right. That's a concern of the owners on the street. That site location, which supposedly is a little bit higher than the rest of the street, floods down the street. Well, now the developer's going to come in and build upon it and to retain that. That's a positive. That's not a negative. Oh, I'm sorry, we're going to contain that location so it's not going to further flood the rest of the street. That's a positive. We have a willing participant and developer who would like to further add to the street and the improvements. Yes, the common owners of the street all have common ownership and have a say of how that street's going to occur. And what happens with the dock and what happens with the street. Whether it's going to be a future homeowner association, that has nothing to do with this particular venue. Concerns versus issues. Yes, all the neighbors, to include my particular property, which I haven't had the ability to build on yet, which I would like to, have concerns about drainage and concerns that the development to the west is going to do the right thing. I think they're going to do the right thing. And I employ you in the building department to make sure that they do the right thing. I'm a little concerned that the representatives of the city who are encouraging this project are not standing up and talking as well. I haven't heard anything in the last two readings. Real quick about common ownership. Todd, who was talked right before me, and myself, and John, who has not been to this podium, are all common owners that were part parcel of making sure. Everybody's talking about this judgment that occurred. All we did was we wanted to make sure that we exercised our rights as common owners, that we all own 30 feet from, and I'm making it plain Jane, from Dixie Highway to the shores of Lake Worth. That includes the road. That includes what happens underneath the road, on top of the road, which includes the gate, and the dock. Now, John, one of the neighbors talked to before me, is correct. And in the fact that, as common owners, this development has to get approval from the rest of the neighborhood. Every owner, in order to build on the street. What they can do to the north and the south is what can be cited and dictated here. But the actual street improvement in between that 30 feet from Dixie Highway to where the rest of the neighborhood begins, that 30 feet is what's cited back to the 1890s in the deed. So they have to get approval. The rest of the development looks great. There was also a statement stated that there's 4 neighbors that are negative against that, and that's not true. Otherwise, why aren't they here? They're not here. I talked with the other neighbors. I didn't get that response. There were other neighbors at the developers' meetings. They're not here today. They were all pro-positive for it. So how does that all of a sudden become a negative? I'd rather know that the facts were stated. I'm for this project. I'm for this developer. I've been waiting 18 years now for something to happen very positive to the West End. This is a great buffer. It's good for the community. And most importantly, we have the 11th entity of various different homeowners as far as size of parcels, etc., that wants to participate with the rest of the neighborhood. I encourage and I employ where this is going to go further. It can only be but positive. And I encourage and employ the rest of the neighbors who want to consider this as a negative to rethink and change their opinion and get involved in this project. Thank you.
No, I got one opportunity. All right, is there anyone else that has not spoken? Seeing none, the applicant could come back to the podium.
Thanks.
And so I guess our conditions of dealing with the property owners is not binding on all the property owners. In the sense is that if someone does not want their road improved in front of their neighbor, in front of their house, and the neighbors to the east do, you'd be willing to go stop and start?
I believe as the conditions are written, and I would defer to legal counsel on to how that gets applied to the private easement situation. I do think that it's, if there's some that don't want that resurfacing to happen, then I think that's their prerogative to do that. We're offering that up as trying to improve the whole roadway. So, if there's modifications that need to be made to the conditions to address it in that way, that if for some reason there's not full consent of the neighborhood, or I'm not even sure if it requires full consent or not, from a legal perspective.
My theory is that I know that there's some houses that have a sidewalk in front of it, and they're the only street on the block with a sidewalk in front of it, because the way that the code was written when that house was built compared to all the other houses that were built. And so I don't want the condition to basically, not allow someone who wants it to not have that repaving with someone who doesn't want it is to their west or to the east. And so
right.
I just would want that to be part of that condition. Yes, Commissioner Romulus.
That sounds nonsensical to me. Why would you break up portions of a road and resurface one portion? And that makes no sense to me. But the way I see it is if certain members of that community are not on board, then just resurface your portion and leave the rest alone. I mean, if that's, unfortunately other people have to suffer, but if the agreement or the judgment as written is that you would need all 10 homeowners to be in agreement in order to resurface the entire road, I see it as an improvement, but if others don't see it as that, let it be and just resurface your parcel and leave it at that. I would not piecemeal a resurface of a road. That's nonsensical to me.
In the way that the condition is written is the applicant has offered to repave the entire length of Lakeside Harbor Drive for the adjacent neighborhood. So it's an offer.
It's an all or none
If the
thing.
adjacent neighborhood says we don't want it, then...
Well, that's, the situation is I don't want one person to stop everyone else. And you don't have the right on that person's property. And as I mentioned before, there's streets here, or there's houses here where there's a sidewalk and there is no other connecting sidewalk.
Sure.
So that's kind of where I have the condition of approval, is that the developer is not out of the hook, and if one property owner doesn't want to do it and the remaining do, that's kind of where my aspect of it is. But so, if you'd like to state your name.
Yeah, Ed Brees, Director of Planning and Zoning. The applicant is not proposing to build sidewalks beyond his property line.
Okay.
He's just proposing that he will resurface the road down to to its terminus if the rest of the neighbors are in agreement. There's no sidewalks being built beyond his site.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you. I don't know. Commissioner McCray, you have a question?
Yes.
They're talking.
Bradley, my question is, the gentleman said that that was his fence, his gate rather. So what are you all going to do about the gate? Somebody tell me something.
Well, the gate was there. It's not there now. Again, it was an offer on behalf of my client to improve that gate. And I think it's going to be continued discussions with the homeowners here to on the details on what happens beyond that property line. What Mr. Janoff just reminded me of is that in order to provide the drainage, if you recall last time we described the drainage as a bowl, that the perimeter of the property is higher and everything comes down. That includes that part of the roadway of Lakeside Harbor Drive. So we will need, in order to make the transition back down, we are going to need at least the owners on both sides of that to allow that extension down. Mr. Mahar is the owner on the south side, the vacant lot, and so I don't remember the gentleman's name to the north side. He was here last time. He was at our private meetings that we had and seemed to be in favor of the development. So we're going to have to continue working with them kind of regardless to make the drainage system work like it's supposed to work. The gate itself, if the gate gets replaced back on in its current condition, once we make that transition, and that's how they want it, then that's how we'll do it.
Commissioner McCray.
Thank you. The last gentleman that spoke, I'm just saying, from over there, I'm just saying he convinced me, I'm just saying, because I was not going to vote for this project in favor of it, but after he said it's a positive, he lives there, I don't live there, and for 1 or 2 cents, they're just gruntled. I'm just saying, and I represent that district. I'm going to have to side with the gentleman that came and spoke positive. I'm going to vote tonight in favor of this project.
Commissioner Romulus.
I find myself a little perplexed, simply because usually, we have residents that are begging a developer to come here and to make improvements or to do certain things and make certain amenities and be a good neighbor and do the right thing. And this is one of those rare occasions, I think, where we have a developer willing to do those things, go above and beyond the ask, and really just do their part to improve the areas in terms of not even just fixing the flooding issue on their end, but also trying to fix it on the eastern end of the road in terms of making that decline more. That way it helps the offloading of the water, so they would be fixing the drainage from the east and from the west, and really just making those accommodations, improving the road, which is a privately owned road that we as a city do not maintain, but the residents maintain. What other opportunities, unless self-funded, would come where these residents would improve that Lakeside Harbor Road? So I'm just a little perplexed that I'm seeing residents counter to abilities to improve their community and flat out turning down abilities to improve their community because simply they're just perhaps maybe letting emotion get in the way of really seeing possible improvements to their community. So I just kind of wanted to put that out there. This is a strange predicament that I find myself in, where we're seeing individuals turn down potentially good things that may be happening, that could be happening for their community.
Any other comments or questions from the board? Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve proposed ordinance number 19-014?
So move.
Second.
Discussion.
Yes.
So I just want to make sure it's stated clearly since certain homeowners have expressed their unwillingness to cooperate, that the developer will simply just resurface their parcels up to their property line, and also in agreement with perhaps their immediately abutting neighbors to the east for roadway improvements, correct?
We will
So
have...
your offers or your proffers of conditional improvements do not necessarily need to be met at this point, since if you cannot get the full agreement of all homeowners on that road.
Correct. And I think the way that the conditions read, we'll still be able to comply with that, or how it's written, we'll still be able to comply with that condition and reconstruct that portion of the road that we need to. We will need those property owners' approval and authorization to make that change. But I agree. I'm usually here trying to defend additional improvements and spending for communities. This is a little bit reverse to what I'm usually facing.
Correct, and the same thing goes with the gate. If you don't have the approval of the residents, you will not do any changes to the gate, correct?
Correct. Again, that part of the roadway is going to have to be modified as part of this drainage plan. So, which the way, and then we have walls coming up on both sides on that east property line. So that gate's going to have to be dealt with.
Or lack thereof, since there is no gate at this point in time.
Or lack thereof.
Okay.
Okay, and so, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, may I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Pincega,
Yes.
Grant,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Katz, Commissioner McCray,
Yes.
Commissioner Romulus.
Aye.
May I have
Vote
a
is
motion?
5.
Go ahead. No, yeah, go ahead. Finish it up.
5-0.
Okay.
Thank you. May I have a motion for proposed ordinance number 19-015?
So move.
Second?
Any further discussion? Seeing none, may I have a roll call, please?
Mayor Grant,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Katz, Commissioner McCray,
Yes.
Commissioner Romulus.
Aye.
Commissioner Pincega.
Yes. Close.
Surga. Very
That's
easy.
right.
It's actually very easy.
5-0.
Tie.
All right.
No.
And so, as for item C, motion to approve with conditions as stated.
Second?
All right. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, moving on to 11A. Discuss commission interest and authorize travel to National League of Cities City Summit in San Antonio, Texas on November 20th to the 23rd. And this is after our city commissioners meeting on the 19th. I've been to the past two National League of Cities conferences, and I think they're a wealth of knowledge of all the things that is going on in the country. So I'd like to attend. Do we need a motion or?
Yeah, Commissioner Romulus, did you express an interest in going as well?
Yes, I did. I'd also like to attend this year
All right,
as
yeah,
well.
let's just, because you all need to approve one another's
Yes.
travel, so whoever would like to go, just because
I'd like
we'll
to attend as
budget
well.
for it for next year.
All right.
That's
So may I have a
going.
So I have a motion to approve all that who would like to attend.
Second.
All right.
And
Any
it's not
further?
next year, it's this year, right? November?
Correct.
Okay.
It's actually in November, so it'll be the new fiscal year.
Next year's
Yeah, new
budget.
physical year, okay.
All those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
Happy flying.
Moving on to comment cards. So I'd like to make a few changes to what we have in our backup. Basically, this is not just for public audience, this is for all items. And so that I'd like to make a few changes in that It's a City of Boynton Beach Commission meeting comment card where they would have to state which item that they would like to speak on, so that, similar to what you have at the County Commission. Because, if it's a comment card, there's nothing on the agenda. And so just make some more changes and state, and that it is, the 3 minutes to voice your opinion does not apply for public hearings. Commissioner McCray.
Thank you. We tried comment cards before, and I wasn't in favor of it then, and I'm not in favor of it now. I'm just one person.
Absolutely. And so these are not required. These are optional comment cards, so that if you have an item that you'd like to speak upon and you don't necessarily want to wait in line, this is that option. Is there any other comments from the board? Because I see someone at the podium, and so I'm going to have to rely on that as my ability to see if someone wants to speak. So seeing none, yes, would you please like to speak?
Susan Oyer, 140 Southeast 27th Way. Commissioner McCray is very correct. These have not worked in the past. I know just from what I've observed over the years that people listen to the back and forth, they listen to what's going on, and then they go, oh, I think I need to speak on this because something triggered a thought in their mind. Or, maybe they read the backup, but they just totally didn't understand everything. And somewhere along the way, the conversation makes you go, I need to talk. And this is just restricting the public, and we're already restricted enough on a regular basis in everything in our everyday lives. And too many times you think you don't want to talk about something, and then you realize later you really do. And this would hinder the public's ability, because then they would be held to those cards. And I think this is wrong, and I think, it's bad enough we have to do this at the county commission level or higher on up, because that just restricts the public access. And this is the most basic level of government. This is where the public need to have the most ability to speak and participate, and this is hindering us, the public. And, you're saying now it's optional, yet that's not what the backup said. So, I just think this is wrong, and I support Commissioner McCray. And I'd ask you all to vote against this, just like you did 3 years ago when this came up, and I stood up and said, this was wrong, or I believe I stood up and said it was wrong, and I believe other people did as well. So thank you very much.
Okay. So as I stated before, it is optional. It's so that as someone who would like to speak on an item, we get to have their name and address written rather than trying for the city clerk to guess the spelling of their name and address. I do not want this to hinder anybody, but the other aspect of it is that if you'd like to speak on an item that is on the agenda, you will still have to come up in public audience to let me know that you want to speak on it and come back again. Because otherwise, I do not know if someone wants to speak on an item unless they're standing behind the podium. So that was the only reason why it is for me, so that I know who wants to speak at which items. Commissioner Pinsurga.
For clarification, this is not only is it optional, but this is only to supplement. It does not replace.
Correct. This does not say that this does not prohibit anybody from speaking if they do not fill out a comment card. And then the other aspect of it is that someone who would like something to be read into the record has that option if they do not want to speak. Commissioner McCray, you had your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. In regards to saying that the city clerks do not understand a person's name or an address, they always ask the question saying, to repeat. I'm just saying, so I just have to make clarification. Do not let that be one of these things talking about why it wants to be optional. Probably what triggered all this was that Mrs. Oyer did not get a chance to speak last time because nobody caught it. I didn't catch it. Nobody else up there caught it. And I'm just saying, do not penalize all the citizens because we made a mistake. It was an error that we made. You was in charge of the meeting, sir, and I kind of said that was one that you should have caught because whenever we want to say anything, you kind of shut us down. And I'm just saying, I'm still, whether it's optional or not, I'm just saying we're treating grown people like kids. I'm just saying I'm not in favor of this card thing, and I'm going to say it again for the record. It failed 3 years ago. It's going to fail now. Thank you.
Correct. It did fail 3 years ago because it was a required card. This is not a required card. And yeah, I would love to try it as a practice for next meeting, and I would need the commission's approval for that. If you would want to allow me to have a one-time basis, I would appreciate it. If not, we can move on. So may I have a motion to approve a City of Boynton Beach Commission meeting comment card, not a public audience?
On a one-time basis?
On a one-time basis.
So move.
We have
Second discussion.
Yes.
Just, I fully understand the crux of this because there was an oversight last meeting. For some reason, the psychology of this room, in the old chambers, everyone stood up during public audience and there was a line on the wall and it was very clear. And in here, people kind of, as soon as someone's done speaking, then they get up and it turns into this, you ask, is there anyone left? And then you start to move on and then someone inevitably stands up again. I have no problem doing this as an option on a one-time basis just to get a feel for it. But what I would recommend is simply, as chair, I think you can do this. Just cue everybody that if, for public audience, if you intend to speak, now is the time, please line up at the wall, or for the individual items, same thing when it's time for public audience, and it's a group of people, it's just like a classroom. If they don't know the instructions or they're hesitant or maybe they're reluctant to do it, but you need them to do it, by all means, you have my support to cue people up, and so with that, I have no problem giving it a pilot run next meeting. I'm not truly behind it in the sense that if it's optional, then people don't have to do it and they're going to do whatever they want anyway, but in the interest of diplomacy,
Right.
optional one-time basis.
Commissioner Romulus.
Right. I would add, and I know we have our rules that's written here on the back of the front page of the agenda. Maybe perhaps that can also be written in the rules that if you would like to speak, especially during public audience or during any stated item on the agenda, to, just come on up and stand up by the podium to indicate that you'd like to speak. But again, even the person who the infraction occurred with, who didn't get her chance to speak at the podium, she has expressed her just her unwillingness to do this, to move in this direction. And I think as a relatively small town city, we don't necessarily need to move up to the operation levels of how the county works. And I have been to the county, and those comment card things are intimidating. And sometimes you do have a spur of the moment thought that comes, and you didn't fill out a comment card, so there it is. So I know you said that it's optional, and you can still come up if you want to speak. But I think for what people understand, regardless of the rules that we express, they'll probably still think that if they didn't fill out a comment card, they won't be able to speak, and so you'll still end up having to do the homework of having to tell people, oh, hey, you can still speak, and so then it just kind of becomes organized chaos, and for what? So I think it's just easier to just kind of, if the wheel ain't broke, don't fix it, so let's just kind of let it be.
All right, yeah, that's the thing, is that it's easier because I've, been to a lot of different board meetings where you have the comment card so you know who wants to speak at which items.
I get it, Mayor. I get it, truly.
And so, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state so by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed?
Aye.
Commissioner Romulus?
You said a one-time trial basis, so let's
right.
go ahead and go for that. After that, I will not be in favor of moving anything else forward in terms of the comment cards.
All right, we have a 4-1 to have comment cards for next meeting. Moving on to legal, 12A, proposed ordinance number 19-010.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 14 of the Code of Ordinances of the city entitled Motor Vehicles and Traffic, creating Section 14-13 entitled Motorized Scooters, providing for definitions, providing for regulations, providing for penalty, providing for codification, conflict, severability, and an effective date.
Yes, Commissioner Vice Mayor.
Thank you. Just to state it on the record, per the clarifications that were made from the first time we discussed this till now, based on the language of the ordinance, this is strictly to prohibit the commercial enterprise of these devices. It in no way prohibits a regular individual resident of the city from recreationally using their own scooter, etc. I just want to make sure that distinction's clear. I think that just based on the clarification we gave after the first reading.
Doesn't say that.
No,
Yeah.
it's,
It doesn't say-
14A says the purpose of this article is to prohibit the use, rental, and parking of motorized scooters in the city of Boynton Beach.
Right.
It does not specifically restrict it to the business use.
For me,
It's not meant to be.
it
Down the
needs,
street that gets one for
it
Christmas.
needs to specifically be a prohibition of the commercial enterprise, not recreational individual use.
Can we just add that to the thing? The purpose of this article is to prohibit the commercial use, rental, and parking of motorized scooters in the city of Boynton Beach. Are you happy with that language?
I think that, yeah, that covers the
You have to
gist.
have it reprinted before you sign, because it doesn't say that. So you would like to add the word commercial, so
On,
in
If you
A1
need
would
to
be
table it, I would
prohibited.
rather do that instead of kind of haphazardly coming up with the language right now, because that's what we expressed expressly at our last commission meeting, that this is what we're intending and passing this ordinance, and if that's not expressed in this current version as it stands, I'm not comfortable with voting on it right now.
Motion to table.
Right.
Second.
I was unfortunately not at the last meeting, but I'll go back.
No,
and
that's
I
fine.
will-
It's not
I
your
will
fault,
listen
Shauna.
to the audio and make the changes.
Yeah, do you mind if I just make some comments before I call on the motion to table? Thank you. So the other aspect of it is under the section 14-13 motorized scooters, under section A, 1, set to prohibit the commercial use, and under section C, the commercial use and parking of a motorized scooter. So those, adding the commercial aspect of it is what will be prohibited on our streets. And I think that will basically allow us not to have the gig economy of people just dropping scooters on the sidewalk.
I do want to also make the commission aware of one other thing. There is a bill that was recently passed with regard to motorized scooters. The governor hasn't signed it as of today, so
We may be preempted if we wait 2 weeks.
not necessarily preempted, because there is a
Thank you.
provision in here that says that it doesn't prohibit your ability to exercise your powers from adopting ordinances governing the operation of micromobility devices, which are scooters. But I just may have to modify the ordinance a little bit more to be in compliance with the language in the statute in the event that the governor signs it. So as of this moment, it's passed the legislature, but the governor hasn't signed it, and it's effective upon becoming law. So if he signs it within the next 2 weeks, then I would just want to let you know that you might see some additional modifications just based on me making sure that it's consistent with the statute.
Commissioner Romulus?
I would actually rather that, where if you have the ability to get that new or whatever finalized version that the governor signs, at least now we won't have to go back to that ordinance to fix it. We can already do that real time, and then it comes back before us for a second reading the final time, and we're done with it.
Vice Mayor?
Just clarification for my own. So is it when the governor signs it, then we're restricted, or does it have an effective date like July 1st or something?
No, it's upon becoming law. So this one is
Okay.
when he signs it. It's not like July 1st, yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm against tabling it. It's just adding the two words, one word of commercial in two different sections. So, all those in favor of tabling it?
Aye.
All those opposed? Nay. Motion's tabled to next meeting, 4-1. We got proposed ordinance number 19-016.
That is an ordinance of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, amending Part 2 Code of Ordinances, Chapter 16, Parks and Recreation, Article 2, City Parks and Beaches, Section 16-18, adding a definition for mooring, amending Section 16-60, establishing hours of use at Harvey E. Oyer Jr. Park, Subsection D, to clarify what is not permitted, providing for conflict, severability, codification, and an effective date.
We have a motion to approve.
So move for discussion.
Do I have a second? Thank you. Yes, Commissioner McCray.
Thank you. What are the hours we're trying to establish?
The hours aren't changing, it's just adding the word mooring so that it's clear what they can't do during the hours that are stated in the ordinance as it exists currently.
What are the hours stated in the ordinance then?
10 p.m. is what the hours are in the ordinance. It says you can't enter the park between 10 p.m. and dawn the next day.
People can't leave before sunrise?
Can't enter.
Can we hear from Mr. Majors? I'm just saying, maybe he has some more comments, because this is kind of confusing a little.
Good evening, Wally Majors, Recreation Parks Director. What is the question, please?
What it is, I want to know what are the hours, and and tell me dawn and mooring. I have found out today that it's just people that's sitting out, and then they bring in their garbage in here and they sewer in here and dumping it on our property. And I'm just saying this needs to be clarified more. And I'm just saying from 10 p.m. to dawn, they still going to be doing it. So I'm just saying, what are we doing?
Well, the hours are not changing in terms of when people can come into the park. What we're trying to address is the concern that some residents have expressed regarding people that like to tie their boats up to the park. And the fact that the word storage was a little ambiguous, so we wanted to add to the definition, to the ordinance, the word mooring, which specifically refers to tying a boat up to basically keep it from floating away. So we're just trying to add added clarity to the ordinance.
So my question is that what happens if someone ties their boat to the Harvey Oyer boat ramp dock at 11 p.m.?
To the dock?
Or to wherever they moor the boat?
Again, if somebody's actively involved with boating or fishing, they can use the park 24 hours a day.
I understand that. So 11 p.m., nobody's on the boat, and it's tied to the dock.
Then they're not allowed to do that.
Well, what is the recourse?
Well, if somebody submits a complaint, we'd have to call the police department, or would it be issued a citation?
And what would that citation be?
I would believe it would be around, and I'm guessing about $85. It would basically be a civil citation.
So basically, if someone wants to park their boat overnight, it's $85.
As far as the exact cost, I'd have to double check that, but that's my best educated guess at this time.
Okay. I get Sergeant Hawkins, you want to say something?
If it's moored, it would be like parking, so we could tow it.
Okay.
That would be the idea.
So
we have a real problem over there. I know I'm involved with traffic, but I know a lot about what goes on in the city.
There's traffic on the waterways.
We do have problems. I know Wally and I have talked about this several times. We do have a lot of problem with people parking their boats, mooring, and it's too much. It's a liability for the city, and they don't need to be there. And a lot of times there's nefarious things going on. So we can either issue the citation, or we can tow it.
I think that's the key aspect of it is that we need to let people know that if they're moored overnight and they're not actively engaged, and so there's nobody on the boat and it's moored, that means that we will be towing it. And we have that right to do it?
Yes. I think that's a good idea, in my opinion.
And that's...
Thank you, Phil. Yeah, we can add that. And I would add that most people know that. It's the few people who, again, break the rules that cause us to take this type of action. But I would say 99% of the people understand that, those docks are there for temporary, to allow people to be able to load the boat, get their supplies in, and then go off and do what they need to do.
It's not a marina.
But they can't just park their boat there indefinitely.
Right, and that's the...
That causes a problem.
And so if we can get the signs, and that sounds great.
Sure, absolutely.
Yes, Vice Mayor.
Sergeant Hawkins, what types of nefarious boat activities occur Out of curiosity.
Well, we could just start with misdemeanors, BUIs, but that can go into stolen boats. We are the closest point to the Bahamas. Our inlet is. So that would mean nefarious people might be transporting illicit narcotics or people, and that's a close boat ramp. That's the quickest boat ramp around. I've worked with Customs for several years, so I would tell you that at times that boat ramp can get busy.
Thank you.
Any other, yes.
Yeah, so what dictates whether we fine or whether we tow?
Yeah.
What will dictate whether we fine or whether we tow?
I think the officer can make that determination when they get there. If they left it there for a period of time while they're running the registration and whatnot, and let's say 30, 40 minutes goes by and they've issued the citation and they're waiting and let me call a tow, and somebody pulls up, hey, I left my boat here. Well, it's after hours. Here's your citation. Move your boat. That would be the courteous thing to do. If it's there, tow gets there, pull the boat. And that would make it easy.
It states that they're not allowed to be there for more than 30 minutes at a time. So basically, if the officer sees the boat there and comes back, sees it's there for more than 30 minutes, he can fill out the citation and make the call to tow. And if they come back before the boat gets towed, they just get the citation. Otherwise, we don't have to worry about the boat being there.
Yep.
Any further discussion from the board? Any discussion from the audience? Seeing none, may I have a roll call, please?
Vice Mayor Katz. Commissioner McCray.
Aye.
Commissioner Romulus.
Aye.
Commissioner Pincirga.
Yes.
Mayor Brandt.
Yes.
Vote is 5-0.
Proposed ordinance number 19-017.
An ordinance of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 14 Motor Vehicles and Traffic, Section 14.3 Truck Parking Regulated, adding definitions providing for penalties, providing for conflict, severability, codification, and an effective date.
May I have a motion to approve?
So move for discussion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Yes, Commissioner McCray.
Thank you. Did we define what an 18-wheeler is, that cannot be parked there? Trucks?
So we've done the best we can in this ordinance. We do have there's a couple of more minor tweaks, so we want to make it before the second reading to even better clarify the trucks that we're trying to regulate.
Examples
So things
of-
like, again, truck cab is generic. We want to use a word like semi-tractor, so that defines it a little bit better. So there's a couple little minor tweaks we want to make between first and second, but overall we feel like this addresses the issue that we're trying to address.
Thank you.
This would not apply to recreational vehicles.
Most of those there's specific exemptions for those, especially if they're on the owner's property, yes.
Okay. Any further discussion from the board? Seeing none, any discussion from the audience? Seeing none. May I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner McCray.
Aye.
Commissioner Romulus.
Aye.
Commissioner Pincirga.
Yes.
Mayor Brandt.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Katz. 5-0.
All right. Anything for future agenda?
Yes.
What would you like?
Mayor, I just want to make sure from staff that we get that report from, I believe her name was Margaret Newman, asking about the accidents, the number of accidents that had happened at that intersection. I'd like that information, and also if staff can come back with a plan of what we can do on that intersection.
Sergeant Hawkins says 4.
4? We already had that.
And for the year to date, we've had 4 on Northwest 4th Street.
You count mine?
Of course I counted yours. Come on.
And I mean, for a local road, that's pretty...
So
is-
that's a
what is
busy
that?
road. It's a busy road, school, people ingress, egress for work. So it is a busy road. 4, we've done speed measurements. I'll get some data together again, and I'll push it back out, and I'll make sure you all get it. But 4 year-to-date for accidents.
Year to date.
Year-to-date.
Oh, that's just, okay. Well, I mean, I'm saying like that's actually,
Actually, so from May to May, we're 4 accidents year-to-date.
okay, so over a year.
Over a year, yeah.
Got it. Okay. Because I'm
Okay.
saying we're in May. So
No,
I thought you
that's-
meant
yeah.
that year to date.
I did have some complaints about speed. We've addressed that. It's not as egregious as it seems to be, but we do get there when we can.
And also, that's part of, we're doing that overall traffic study, and all of those streets will be addressed once we come up with a full plan for the whole city on how we place stop signs. We're going to do some changes on how we do stop signs in these residential areas to actually do exactly what we've talked about.
What's the timeline on that,
Of
Colin?
switching stop signs. They're finishing the study in the next month and a half or so. We're going to put together a plan in one neighborhood, do that first, which is the Forest Park neighborhood, and then we're going to move that to the other neighborhoods that are this is a very similar neighborhood to that neighborhood, so we're just going to use the same type of plan throughout the neighborhoods to kind of fix this problem, get the stop signs in the right places to try to slow people down.
And when I do call about the traffic, Sergeant Hawkins, I want to tell you all are out there, you all monitor, you do show up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.